Alrighty, people. How you doing? How you feeling? We are back. New week, new rookie mock draft all together. We appreciate y'all for being here. What's up, Fantasy Football Life? What's up, Marty? Jordan's house is in the building. We've got Yvonne. Noah says, waited all day for this. And Jordan says, facts. What's up, Yvonne? Artie's here. He says, I thought I was late, and then I realized it's a Dynasty stream, or Dynastyland stream, and I'm on time. And yeah, that's right. And then we also had the opposite side of it, where Donovan says, I'll like the stream when we start on schedule. You know, that's just a father of five there, just angry that we're not starting on time. I'll be honest, we'll never get Donovan's like, and I'm going to have to live with that. What's up, Dylan in the building? How you feeling? What's up, Dominic in the building? How you feeling? What's up, Sean? Faulty, Zach in the building. What's up, people? Welcome in. Also, we just got breaking news. The Rams will seek a trade partner for Cooper Kupp. So that is breaking news as we're starting today's stream. Cooper Kupp, very unlikely to be a Los Angeles Ram, and I actually talked about that in today's video. Now, unfortunately, I said Puka Nacua instead of Cooper Kupp. I had a little brain fart, but I meant to say that Jordan Whittington should be stashed everywhere because there's a chance that Cooper Kupp moves on, not Puka Nacua, and we're seeing now, you know, reports of that being the case. Cooper Kupp potentially finding a new home in 2025. Jordan Whittington should absolutely be stashed everywhere. Tutu Atwell should absolutely be stashed everywhere. And honestly, this makes the Rams a potential landing spot for one of these wide receivers we like. I mean, what happens if a Luther Burden, a Matthew Golden, and a Mika Egbuka ends up with the Los Angeles Rams? That could be a really incredible landing spot to think about in the future. By the way, 80 days until the NFL draft. We do have our resident countdown expert, Daniel Macy, in the chat. He says, hit that like button. I appreciate you, man. Yes, we do have a like goal today of 100 likes. With your help, I believe we can get there. If we do reach 100 likes, we might be able to pop off a second rookie mock draft with you guys. We'll have to wait and see if that is possible. But we're excited to be here with you. We are doing a rookie mock draft. And Badaki, for people who want to join today's rookie mock draft, how can they go about doing so?
Yeah, guys, join our Discord, okay? That link is in the description. I'll put that link in the chat right there for you. Join our Discord. Go to the Fantasyland tab with the orange footballs. Then go to announcements. That's how you can join each and every mock draft. Whether you're watching this now or later, it's always going to be there. You just have to wait until I send that link out. It is first come, first serve. A little tip. Everyone likes a little tip.
Yeah, you like a little tip, man?
Oh, you can do a lot with a little tip.
Yep.
All you got to do is maybe get a laptop, you know, computer. Doing it on your phone is a little bit more difficult, but I'll send that link out here in 3, 2, 1. There you go.
All right. So that link is sent out, and we are obviously going to get this thing full, and we're going to have a great time today. This will be a 12-team super flex, PPR, and we'll do a tight end premium, let's just say of 0.5. Okay. But we do have a fresh mock draft from Sammy Stacks, of course, our intern who is helping us create these 7-round mock drafts. And apparently Ian Rappaport says Cooper Kupp will be on the move per Cooper Kupp. Does that mean that Cooper Kupp announced it? Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. So Cooper Kupp, wow, this is huge. He says, I was informed that the team will be seeking a trade immediately and will be working with me and my family to find the right place to continue competing for championships. I don't agree with the decision and always believed it was going to be and begin and end in LA. Still, if there's one thing I've learned over the years, there are so many things you can be control of, basically. Okay, cool. So yeah, he is moving on according to Cooper Kupp. It's official. But all right, this is the world we're living in. All right, so take a second here. All right, and think this through. How would Dynasty rookie draft change if this were reality? If this mock draft that we're using today was reality? Doesn't matter if you think something's unrealistic about the NFL mock draft. It doesn't matter if you think it'll never happen. What if it does happen? How would that impact Dynasty rookie drafts? That's what we're on a goal to find out today. So at number 1, Cam Ward comes off the board Abdul Carter next, then Shador Sanders goes to your Giants. So two quarterbacks in the first 3 picks. Travis Hunter is a Patriot. Ashton Jeanty goes 6th overall to the Raiders. You know, they have a lot of needs. Are they going to draft running back? We don't know, but in this world, let's assume they do. Then moving on, we've got Ted McMillan to the Saints at the 9th overall pick. I haven't seen this one before, but Tyler Warren to the Dolphins. Now, we did see Jonnu Smith get a lot of usage, a lot of volume in this offense. 2 very different players, though, right? Very, very different compared to Tyler Warren, but an offense that you would like to be a part of, no doubt about it. Then we see Colson Loveland go to the Broncos with the 20th overall pick. Luther Burden to the Steelers. If you think about the Steelers right now, there is just not a single explosive player on that team. Like, George Pickens is a good player. He's a good wide receiver. But think about the running backs. Think about the tight ends. Think about the wide receivers. Think about the offensive unit. There is not an explosive player. Now they add one with Luther Burden. Then we see a Mika Egbuka replacing Stephon Diggs with the Texans. And then into round 2, where Amarion Hampton is a Cleveland Brown. Matthew Golden is a Tennessee Titan. We've got Caleb Johnson, who joins the Ben Johnson-led Bears. So that would be a conversation to have. Jack Besh goes to the Jets. Quinshon Judkins then goes to the Cowboys a couple picks later. Elijah Arroyo, who was a huge shining star at the Senior Bowl. I have yet to scout him. He is on my last list this week of players I'm scouting. Then my guy Jalen Royals goes to the Denver Broncos. He had a great Senior Bowl. Alec A. Manor, who I think opted out of the Senior Bowl, goes to the Packers. Harold Fannin Jr. went to the Chargers. All the talk about all these tight ends who did well at the Senior Bowl. I don't know that Harold was really a shining star, but he wasn't bad either. This is definitely a surprise. Dylan Sampson, 2nd round pick to the Ravens. Okay, so I guess that is your heir apparent to Derrick Henry. Interesting. And then Travion Henderson falls to the Chiefs in the 2nd round. Into round 3, where Cam Scatterboot is a Giant. Then we see Jaden Higgins to the Raiders, Jalen Knoll to the Patriots. So those teammates go back to back. Xavier Restrepo to the Panthers, Tez Johnson to the Cowboys, Trey Harris to the Commanders, Mason Taylor to the Colts, Jackson Dart to the Seahawks, DJ Giddens to the Steelers. That's a great landing spot for him. Isaiah Bond to the Bucks. Let's see. Next offensive player will be Devin Neal to the Vikings. I'm a big fan of Devin Neal. Savion Williams to the Dolphins. Gunnar Helm to the Rams. Into round 4, where we see Ty Felton to the Jags, Pat Bryant to the Bills, Ollie Gordon to the Panthers. One of those spots that sucks. We don't want our, a guy that we like. I'm not a big fan of him, but a guy that people like go to a spot where there's already an established running back, but that's a possibility, right? This is realistic. And then we see Woody Marks go to the Colts. Oddly enough, for the Colts, I think that would be a perfect fit, but don't love the landing spot for fantasy. Torrey Horton to the Bengals. Then we see Khalil Mullings to the Chargers. I got to be honest, I watched Khalil Mullings. I'm not in, guys. Terrence Ferguson to the Saints. Caden Prather to the Lions. Let's see. Into round 5, the last round we'll look at, we got RJ Harvey to the Jags. Jordan James to the Patriots. Brashard Smith, my guy, to the Commanders. I'm loving that. Ricky White to the Cardinals. Jarquez Hunter to the Bengals. Nick Nash to the Giants. Antoine Wells to the Chargers. Marcus Yarns to the Packers. Will Howard is a Steeler. Kobe Hudson is a Brown. Damian Martinez is an Eagle. Ordon Gazdin is a Texan. Ja'Cory Brooks is an Eagle. Let's see. And if you want to look at round 6 and 7 on your own time, you can do so. Again, I'll put that link. That link is already in the chat for you guys if you want to reference it. So, again, a 12-team Superflex PPR tight end premium. And we will make sure that it is rookies only. Here we go. Starting this thing in 3, 2, 1.
All right.
Was there any landing spot that we just talked about that really stood out to you as new, a conversation we haven't had before, as Ashton Jeanty goes number 1 overall? Remember, Jeanty went to the Raiders with the 6th overall pick.
You know what I was thinking of is Tyler Warren, and not necessarily to the Dolphins. I know we're living in this world, but let's just say Ashton Jeanty does go before, the Cowboys pick. why wouldn't the Cowboys take a tight end, a talented tight end?
Yeah, that's interesting.
I don't think we've ever thought of that.
Yeah.
And then they can still get a running back in the second round. So they go to offensive, get Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb some more help.
Yeah.
That could be an interesting landing spot, Sammy. If you want to mock something up with that, that could be kind of cool. But hey, we don't know. Well, anything can happen here.
All right, so Omarion Hampton goes with the second pick there, and he is the first pick in round 2 to the Browns, a team that desperately needs to replace Nick Chubb, and this running back room as a whole needs a huge upgrade. They get that in Omarion Hampton. Running backs in round 2 have a 70% hit rate. I actually just updated the research this week, which will be in the draft guide. By the way, guys, version 2 of our 2025 rookie report will release this time next week. So in a week's time, we will get version 2 of our 2025 rookie report. Historical hit rates will be there. You know, last year I did it for top 12 and top 24 points per game seasons for quarterbacks and then running backs and wide receivers. This year, it'll be even more detailed. We'll have not only star hit rates, but superstar hit rates. And I'm excited to release that in version 2 in a week's time in our rookie report. So we saw Tet McMillan, who, remember, went to the Saints 9th overall pick off the board. Then we saw Caleb Johnson, who went to the Bears in the early second round. We'll have some conversations about these guys before we get to the next pick. And then Luther Burden, who went to the Steelers with the 21st overall pick. Really like the Caleb Johnson pick, honestly, at the 104. I'm not so sure I wouldn't take Caleb Johnson over
Omarion?
Anyone outside of the 101 if this was the real landing spot, if he goes to Ben Johnson there early second round. And, you know, obviously none of these guys are Jahmyr Gibbs in this draft, but you definitely have a plus David Montgomery here with Caleb Johnson. I mean, I think this is a better version of what David Montgomery gave them.
Yeah, they will find ways to utilize Caleb in some sort of way, like Jahmyr Gibbs or like Monty, whatever that may look like. Because I mean, he instantly steps into that RB1 role there, ahead of Swift, ahead of Big O Roscoe. I mean,
100%.
You know,
he gets 70% of the carries from day one, an offense that likely will improve. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of that pick. Then we see Luther Burden again, who went to the Steelers in the first round. You know, I talked about this. You know, every time I see a Steeler wide receiver mocked in round 1, the comment section is full of people who say, you guys have no idea what you're doing. The Steelers will never draft a wide receiver round 1. They haven't done it in the last couple decades. And it's like people refuse to live in this world where maybe a team just changes the trend. And in this world, I just like to live in it for a second. Like, let's be honest. If Luther Burden's available and the Steelers are there, what is stopping? Their defense is great. They have no explosive weapon whatsoever. It doesn't even have to be Luther Burden. What's a weapon they love in this class? So yeah. I get they haven't done it historically, but I love it because Luther Burden would probably be the number 1 receiver on that team above George Pickens day one. Day one, I think he would lead this team in targets, receptions, receiving yards, and fantasy points per game. They just have no one to really funnel their offense through. George Pickens is a big play wide receiver. They don't have this, easy dump it off type of player on their team right now that you can funnel through the middle of the field.
They don't have a dump off type of offense, though, unfortunately, with Arthur Smith there. We saw that with the Falcons. I love the landing spot for Luther. I hate who's running it with Arthur because that was a concern when he was with the Falcons. That's a concern when he came here. But yes, I get what you're saying. At
the same time, though, how confident are we that Arthur Smith is good at his job? Because if the answer is we're not confident at all, then it wouldn't stop me from taking Luther Burden. Do you know what I mean? Like if we're like, no, I don't think Arthur Smith is going to be there long term, it wouldn't stop me from taking a guy like Luther Burden. You know what I mean? We just saw a couple years ago JSN get stifled by a bad offense coordinator, and then another coordinator came in and he really finally was able to shine. But all right, I'm on the clock here at the 106, and I will just say, as I've been saying all year, I really think you can go so many different ways with these picks. There's some quarterbacks that are available that I don't think are bad options at all. But there's a round 2 running back that I'm obsessed with. Almost 71% hit rate on a round 2 running back. and that is going to be Travion Henderson. So Henderson goes in the second round to the Kansas City Chiefs. If you've been watching any of these games with Kansas City, Isaiah Pacheco's a non-factor right now. Now, you and I expected that. We could not understand why everyone in season was ranking Pacheco so high. We expected him to take a while to really recover and kind of find his groove, if you will. But what if they're not willing to pay Pacheco long term because there's only a year left on his deal? They bring Travion Henderson in. That's another weapon in their offense that they don't really have out of the backfield as a receiving threat. I think he'd be the perfect fit. This is not someone getting the Chiefs bump. If this was someone getting the Chiefs bump, then Henderson would have gone at the 102, right? Which he's in that same type of range to be worthy of going in that kind of range. But I'm going to take him off the board here. How do you feel about the fit in Kansas City with Travion, round 2?
I'm scared, and I kind of said that earlier, early in the week or a couple weeks ago. I love the idea of Travion going, or any running back going to the Chiefs. How are they going to utilize them? You know, I mean, what is that going to look like with all these young players, with Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy? You know, I kept going back to, where do you take the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands and have them running the ball, 20 plus times a game? I just don't see that happening in an offense. Love Travion, and I think I'm just scarred. I'm just scarred for all the other guys.
See, I just don't understand that narrative, though, because and we talked about this in a previous stream. I just don't understand the narrative because this team has been built around the run game and defense for a while.
Sure, but like, we haven't seen a guy. We said that with, probably not with Clyde. It doesn't go all the way back there with Clyde. Defense wasn't as strong back then. But then it was Clyde, and then Pacheco came over. I think we've seen that in the past year.
Ever since Pacheco really took over, this offense has really funneled through the run game.
Sure.
They've not been passing at a volume that they used to at all. So I don't really agree with that narrative, but I can
I just think they funneled through them because the only weapon they had was Travis. They got rid of Tyreek, and then who was the next guy? So they funneled through Pacheco, which I agree. And now they have Rice, they have Xavier. They're building through these young players.
And they'll lose Kelsey very soon.
And we haven't seen the growth of those young players outside of Rice. We've seen a little bit of Xavier, and then Rice got hurt, obviously. But I'm on the clock here. And
interesting.
Okay, we paused it.
Egbuka did come off the board, by the way. He went to the Texans in round 1. The perfect fit to replace Stephon Diggs long term. Obviously, Tank Dell going down with that injury. I think Emeka Egbuka would be very high on my board.
Went to the Texans.
If he went to the Texans, it would be really difficult not to draft him. I just don't see a scenario where he busts. Maybe this is drafting Jordan Addison, and you have to realize, okay, I'm not drafting a guy that's ever going to be top 12, top 15 in Dynasty rankings, or, he's never going to be an untouchable per se, right? But I think you're getting such a safe, really good, reliable producer at the position. After that, we had Travis Hunter go off the board, which, again, it's impossible to really evaluate Travis Hunter as a dynasty asset right now unless you're in an IDP league, because ultimately no one really knows. People are just guessing right now exactly what sort of usage he'll get at wide receiver. So it's kind of a crapshoot right now as far as actually trying to figure out what would happen with him in the NFL. By the way, a little update on our like goal. We are just 40 likes away from 100, which is incredible. Appreciate you guys for being here and showing some love. Do us a favor, smash that like button to show some love. Let's get to 100 all together. Michael, by the way, said it would be crazy to think the Steelers aren't targeting a receiver in the first. Mike says, at first I didn't like Tet, but he's growing on me. Yeah, I mean, I've always liked Tet. I just haven't had him as a clear-cut guy. He's definitely in that conversation for wide receiver 1, as he has been all offseason. But, yeah, I'm still a fan of Tet for sure. What's up, Caleb from Seattle? Welcome in, welcome in. Chris says, how do we feel about the Rams looking to trade Cooper Kupp? What does that wide receiver room look like? We actually talked about that earlier. We talked about Jordan Whittington needed to be a mustache. And the fact that they could draft someone this year, it's a real possibility.
Great for somebody. I mean, that's one thing we haven't even spoke about either.
Yeah. All right. What are you doing here at the 109?
Yeah, a lot of different options here, kind of like what you said for your pick.
Yeah.
Quarterbacks, couple running backs, tight ends going all over the place. I'm going to go quarterback.
Okay, yeah. I think, yeah.
I'm gonna go Shador.
Okay, so where did he land again? I can't remember. He
He went to the Giants. Yeah, this is a little bit of a biased pick, but he goes to the Giants.
Sure.
Linking up there with Malik Neighbors in this offense with Brian Dable. So it's kind of I guess, the dream pick for Shador. I mean, everything he's saying about New York, all the conversations.
Yeah,
how
he
he's
keeps
saying
hinting that he's going to play in New York.
He's playing the Cowboys twice a year. I can't wait to come back to this thing. It's just very interesting. I feel like it's setting him up for failure. Like it's gonna come back and he's gonna get drafted by
the Browns,
the Browns or the Titans, and he's just gonna look like an idiot for what he's been saying for the past couple months.
You mean like wearing New York Giant cleats to his last bowl game as a as a Colorado Buff? Yeah. I mean, that's the kind of stupidity you're talking about.
100%. So either way, I think whether
can you think of a player who's done that, by the way, in the past couple decades, where they were probably going to be a first-round pick and they just wore the cleats of the team they wanted to pick them?
Not wore the cleats, but they definitely hinted to colors, and you saw that on draft night. You know, like,
whoa. Wowzer. Okay, Ollie Gordon comes off the board. I paused it because I want to obviously ask everyone, who do they think the best value is in round one? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about round one, and then we'll get into round two here. You went Sanders, sorry, and then right after that we had Judkins, which, by the way, remember, Judkins, if you remember, was a second-round pick to the Cowboys. And there's all these people, Badaki, in the comment section. I just released a Superflex mock on our channel last week. And people were so upset that I had these quarterbacks falling. They were so upset that I had Sanders and Ward falling past pick 6, past pick 4. And I go to ask those people, I say, like, can we have a real conversation? If I don't have conviction on these players, then why wouldn't I take a round 2 guy who went to the Cowboys? Round 2 hit rate on a running back is 70%. The round 1 hit rate on a quarterback is 62%. I mean, it's not crazy to have that conversation. I think you're making a safer pick. Of course, you can play the upside with these quarterbacks. And then I ask people, what about Igbuka? You know, what about Caleb Johnson, Burden? Like, you know, it's just, this class is actually pretty decent with the top 12 picks, I'd say. And there really is this huge tier of players. So, again, Sanders and Ward go late in our draft. In a lot of drafts, you're seeing them go top 4. I think you can go as high as pick 4. You can go as low as pick 12. I really think that's the range for these quarterbacks. And I think every league's going to be different. I don't have this kind of conviction on the quarterback class I did last year. I don't think it's crazy that they fell this far. But I don't think it's crazy if they were drafted higher either.
No, and I think that's what's going to happen. When you see a Superflex draft, they're going to be pushed up the board because people like to draft for need. You know, you're probably in a Superflex league. The only quarterback you have is CJ Stroud, and you had a Bryce Young that you don't feel confident in, or you probably had Daniel Jones or Kirk Cousins, and you're saying, I need a quarterback, let me go draft Shador or Cam, when in reality, you can probably trade back to get him, depending on your league. So if you're seeing this and Shador is going at the 109 and you say, well, he keeps falling, but I need a quarterback, and you have the 105, see if you can trade back, get some more value in your drafts, to be honest.
And the other thing that I'm telling people is, because right now I think the consensus is the 104 is Cam Ward or Sanders or quarterback, right? That's a consensus. Everyone's saying they're going to be top 5 picks. I get it. But in my opinion, if you really need a quarterback and you have that pick and you plan on making that move, I would rather trade that pick for a quarterback already in the NFL. I'd rather go try and get a Michael Penix. You know, I mean, we talked about this on that video a couple weeks ago. So, that's the moves I'd rather make. Now, I can't go further without discussing the Ollie Gordon pick. So,
I think we should let Wyatt explain.
I would love Wyatt to make his case. Explain yourself, please.
Put in the sleeper chat. Put it
as
in
to
YouTube.
Why Ollie Gordon was worth the 112. Look, I liked Ollie Gordon just as much as the next guy last year. Now, what you guys have to know is when I rank a class a year out, so like, for example, I ranked the 2025 class in a video that was August of 2024. That was a whole year before I watched film. But when I go in to watch film and I watch a guy like Ollie Gordon, I think there's a lot of holes in his game. And then we go ahead and consider the draft capital as well. I mean, we're talking about a guy that was a round 4 pick to the Carolina Panthers. You got Chuba Hubbard, Jonathan Brooks, who won't be healthy next year. I hear that. but I just don't understand why that pick is being made. You gotta consider the world we're trying to live in here. If you like Ollie Gordon, I think you might have been able to take him at the 212, if not the 312. I just don't understand the pick.
I completely agree. And I've been saying this, if you're new here or you're watching later, this is kind of like the Braden Allen effect. Braden Allen was so great in college, young prospect. He's going to come out, do everything he possibly can. He was probably projected to be a first round pick, his sophomore year. Fell his junior year, if I'm not mistaken, went to school for the 4th year. And look at him now.
Yeah.
Sitting behind Breece Hall. We love the talent. Not the same player that we saw in his sophomore year compared to his senior year or his junior, hell, even his junior year. I think it's the same thing with Ollie Gordon. Not saying the talent wasn't there. It's probably just one of those things like you're just better in college.
Yeah, I mean, well, my issue with the Marion is with Ollie Gordon is if you go back and watch his 2023 film, the same issues were there, but the team around him was just far better. Jamie says, I love the Ollie Gordon pick at the end. Everyone has written him off because of lack of another 1,000 yards. You can't blame the team for his lack of production. And I agree. You can blame him for the areas that he's really bad in. I mean, let's be honest. He's a great receiver. He's got good size. I thought he should have returned to school personally, but I hate the way he attacks a defender in space. Like, genuinely, for someone who is 6'2", 225 pounds, or whatever he weighed in at the Senior Bowl, he's a big guy. Actually, I think he weighed in at 233. And people were like, this is great. I'm sitting there like, you're kidding me. You want Ollie Gordon at 233 pounds? I don't believe anybody wants that to be true. Like, I would rather him be 210, slimmer, and more agile, because guess what? The guy doesn't attack with strength well. So if you don't attack with strength well and you're putting on pounds, it doesn't seem like a great combination. His play strength is really bad. I thought he was too indecisive behind the line of scrimmage. I think his pad levels are just too high. I mean, I think this is almost Braylon Allen in a way. Like, it's funny you brought up Braylon Allen, but I think Braylon Allen isn't a terrible comp for an Ollie Gordon. I think you get, like, if Braylon Allen and Rachaad White combined to be a player, I think it'd be in the range of that player, of Ollie Gordon.
Yeah.
So
I just think in this world, too, like, he just shouldn't be going in the first. You know, I get it.
No, yeah,
like,
if you love Ollie Gordon, that's why I said take him 212 at earliest. You take him 212.
Yeah, if you're telling me Ollie Gordon went in the second round to the Chargers, it's a new conversation. Let's talk about it. Why do you see him in this line? He probably is deserving a first round pick in the second round potentially.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get what you're saying.
By the way, Wyatt said, I thought it was going to Snake. Should have taken Milrow. Thought about Devin Neal, but couldn't find his landing spot. That's okay, man. I mean, look, yeah. So just so you guys know, all rookie drafts, they're linear, right? So they don't come back on Snake, because obviously the worst teams typically get the earlier picks, and they have a better chance to improve their roster in your dynasty leagues. But all right. I did see the mate says, are you guys doing team reviews after this? If so, I buy one today and have it reviewed. Yes, we are doing team reviews today. And yes, we have one more spot of someone that can get their team reviewed today. But anyway, look, I'm not the biggest fan of Ollie Gordon. Even like, and I said the same thing about Braylon Allen last year, remember? And we got a lot of hate for not being in on Braylon Allen. And we always just told people, if you like the guy, let him fall. Let him fall, right? Don't push his ADP up. If you truly like this player, don't be pushing his ADP up in these drafts. Right, I mean, he should be a third-round pick at earliest. So, anyway, best value in round one. What does the chat think? We've got someone who said Cam Ward. Someone said Shador. We have Luther or Quinshawn. Let's see. Daniel Macy says Henderson. So a lot of people liking the Henderson and the quarterback picks, which, you know, in a super flex league, you see the quarterbacks go that far. It's hard not to shout them out as value picks, you know. So I can understand why people are moving that direction as well.
Yeah, no, I really like Quinshawn personally. I think I like his landing spot, second round draft capital. If there's anyone that goes to the Cowboys, put any name to the Cowboys, I think we're all valuing that person a little bit differently.
Yeah.
And the fact that he went at the 110,
especially if they get draft capital in the first 3 rounds. I mean,
100%.
the names, any of the top names, but throw in like Giddens, Sampson, Scadaboo, Neal.
Put those players there. We're taking them in the first because they went to the Cowboys.
If they get that draft capital, yes.
Yes, if they get the capital, 100%.
All right, guys, that is round 1. Let's get into round 2 here, and let's keep having some fun conversations. Let's see. Jamie says, I hope that falls in McCord in the 4th round. Well, let's see. I mean, maybe he doesn't now that we're talking about it. I don't know. We'll see. Honestly, the quarterback class as a whole, I watched Jackson Dart. I watched Jalen Milroe. And Jalen Milroe comes off the board, so why don't we talk about him?
Where'd he end up going? He went to the Raiders in the 4th round.
Yeah, he went to the Raiders in the 4th round. You know, I guess people are like, well, remember Russell Wilson linked up with Pete Carroll?
Yeah.
Late round pick, or wasn't he 3rd round pick?
He was 3rd round pick.
And it worked out. I'll be honest with you guys. After watching Jalen Milroe, I don't know that I'll have any stock of him. I really don't think I'll have a single stock of Jalen Milroe.
Wow. Okay.
This is like Anthony Richardson vibes all over again. But the difference is I don't think you're going to have the 1st round draft capital to back up the pipe dream. Do you know what I mean? It's like we all knew, at least you and I, when talking about Anthony Richardson, hey, there's a lot of issues on film with him being an actual quarterback. Accuracy, playing the position.
Yeah.
But Jalen Milroe, it's just... It's the same pipe dream, but you don't have the 1st round draft capital to back it up. And I am shocked that there's a 1st round tight end still available on the board as I'm on the board myself.
What's going on? I thought he would go. I thought both these tight ends were going to go ahead. Like, was going to go in the 1st.
Yeah, I think they're worthy of going in the 1st at minimum. But I am going to go ahead here, and I'm going to take Tyler Warren. I do prefer Loveland over Tyler Warren, but I am a little bit flabbergasted to see him fall this far. Remember, he went in the 1st round, 13th overall pick to the Miami Dolphins. Let's be honest, we do not know what the future holds with Tyreek Hill. We have no idea how long that's going to last. We have no idea what that's going to look like with, you know, him and the disagreements that he's had with the team. But you're telling me I get a 1st round tight end? Guys, 1st round tight ends have an 80% hit rate. An 80% hit rate in the past 11 years. Now I can extend that another year. 11 years. 80%. And we're letting a guy, that's about as good as it gets. The only other bet that you can make that's a higher percent is a 1st round running back. And we're letting that guy fall to the 206. I don't know about that. I don't know.
You don't know about that.
And I'm not even the biggest Tyler Warren guy, but I can't let it happen any further. By the way, in between our picks, we had Loveland go. Golden, unfortunately, was not a 1st round pick. He went to the Titans in the 2nd round.
2nd round. Yeah,
then Royals, who went to the Broncos in the 2nd round, and Scadaboo, who went to the Giants in the 3rd round. After that, we have Devin Neal, who at the 207 remember, he's a Viking in round 3. I really like that pick a lot myself. I think that pick makes a ton of sense. I'm a big fan of Devin Neal. And then Trey Harris, who I believe went to the Commanders in round 3. And now you're on the clock.
Yeah, I know who I want to take, but he's not available.
As in?
Like, he's not in sleeper.
Okay.
So I'm just going to take I want to take Jalen Noel. He went to the Patriots in the 3rd round.
Okay. I can add that for you. Take a kicker.
There's no kicker options on my screen, but I'm just gonna go down.
Okay, I'll add Jalen Noel on top of that for you. So we do get Jalen Noel off the board, and I'll put that there for Badaki. Where did he land?
He went to the Patriots in the 3rd round.
Okay. And did the Patriots didn't really draft any significant wide receivers, if I remember.
Well, correctly. They took Travis Hunter technically.
Right. Okay.
But we'll see.
Okay.
Wide receiver 2.
Before we move on to the next round, I have got to understand how Dylan Sampson fell this far. Someone help me understand how a 2nd round running back is available at the 211. People in the draft, please help me understand. What do you guys think? What am I missing? Why is Dylan Sampson not higher than that?
I have two minds about it. I thought about Dylan Sampson.
What's up, Kiar, by the way? Kiar, who is head of Fantasyland LLC operations.
Come on.
All right, so okay, so I guess I'm asking you as well, but you let Dylan Sampson fall past you. Second round to the Ravens.
I just think yes, he is behind Derrick Henry, but I don't think if you draft, I don't think Derrick Henry is just going to have like this 2 year and be done. I actually think they'll probably extend him for another 2 years or do a 1 year contract. By the time Dylan's actually on the field, probably be his second or third year. So you're sitting on this guy for 2 to 3 years, obviously just like any other Dynasty player. But I also don't think that he's going to be demanding the ball like Derrick Henry is. So like if we're thinking of him in the same light as Derrick Henry, the way he runs, his size, obviously he's not Derrick Henry.
I'm gonna say no one is. He's not near that player, but
yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's not nowhere near that player. I think I don't think he's the right fit in that offense in that light.
Well, I don't think we're doing this exercise proper care by saying he's not the right fit, because the Ravens in this world decided, you know what? We love Dylan Sampson so much, and we are thinking about the running back position so much that we're going to draft him round 2. That doesn't indicate to me that they're thinking we've got 5 more years of Derrick Henry. That indicates to me that maybe we need to lower the workload for Derrick Henry a little bit more. We already saw Justice Hill have a pretty decent role last year. Now, was that a startable role every week? No, it was not. But there were weeks in best ball leagues where he won people weeks. And now you're saying, you know what? We like that role so much. Let's elevate that. Let's draft a round 2 running back. And let's think about the future of a Derrick Henry, because we don't know how much longer we have him. But again, I ask you guys, running backs in round 2, 71% hit rate. And K Legacy just got the steal of the draft. And Dylan Sampson's a great player, by the way. That's just my opinion. Again, 71% hit rate. That's a higher hit rate than a round 1 quarterback, than a round 1 wide receiver. Of course, I can understand why people don't like the situation, but to me, if we're playing this exercise out truly, then the Ravens are indicating to us that they don't think Derrick Henry has 5 more years, and that they don't think Justice Hill's role is he's able to fill a bigger role that they have in mind for their RB2. So that's just my opinion.
Yeah, that's fair.
But why don't we ask the question, who is the best value in round 2? What do you guys think? I'd love to hear from the chat. I'd love to hear what you guys think. By the way, the chat says, Trey says he's low on Sampson. Jamie says Sampson's dual threat running back. He will have to land in a Walker situation. In a Walker situation.
What do you mean a Walker situation?
Yeah, let us know. Lonnie says he already drafted running back and Jack Besh was just sitting there. I love Jack Besh, but if a round 2 running back's there, I'm going to take it over a round 2 wide receiver. I mean, round 2 wide receivers have a 32% hit rate. Running backs in round 2 have a 71% hit rate. Jamie says Knoll before Higgins is crazy. I don't agree. I don't think that's crazy. I love Higgins, and I love Jalen Knoll, but Knoll was the one that I preferred before the Senior Bowl, and I still, after the Senior Bowl, I still prefer Knoll. I just think he's a great player. They're both very good players.
Yeah. I just like landing spot as well, personally.
Yeah. Let's see. Best value in round 2. We've got Michael who says Warren was the best value.
Yeah, I don't think there's a question. It's Warren. It's a first round tight end. Top, 12?
Yeah.
This is top 12.
13th overall pick, yeah.
Top 13 overall. I mean, like, there's no question.
Yeah, I mean, whoever drafted him, I don't know. Might be knowing what they're doing. Let's see. Wyatt says, I like James in New England. Jordan James, as in at the 212. Okay, that makes sense. Ken Walker says, James says Kenneth Walker, same build as what I was getting. Okay, right. Soren says, if running backs go to really good landing spots in round 3, do you draft them in the first of rookie drafts over first round wide receivers? Round 3, no, I probably wouldn't. Round 2, yes.
Like, round 2, I think round 2 for sure. Like,
we've talked about this before, but there's so many round 2 teams where if a running back gets drafted there, I will definitely consider them over a round 1 wide receiver. For example, if the Browns take a running back, the Raiders, the Bears, we've talked about, the Cowboys. I mean, this list is pretty big, though. The Broncos, the Steelers. The list is quite large, honestly. Those guys, the Commanders, those guys draft a running back, the Chiefs. In round 2, I will definitely consider that player over a round 1 wide receiver. I mean, I did it here with Trayvon Henderson, who was a round 2 pick. I drafted him over Igbuka. So round 2, yes. Round 3, no. And the historical hit rates back that up. Okay, a round 1 wide receiver has a better hit rate than a round 3 running back, but a round 2 running back has a better hit rate than a round 1 wide receiver. So it is situational. You know, you don't go purely based off historical hit rates, but yes, I would consider it in round 2, not round 3.
Agreed. Completely agree.
Stefan says, I think Warren gets drafted before Lovin in the NFL draft. Stefan, I think the majority of consensus is with you, my friend.
Yeah,
I think so, yeah. Let's see. Okay. Jamie says he loves Besh. Yes, I love Besh as well. All right, cool. So let's get into round 3 here. Hey, do us a favor, guys. If you have yet to hit that like button, go ahead and hit that like button. We're actually just 11 likes away from hitting our 100 like goal. So be a friend, smash that like button, 11 of you to help us get to that goal. Appreciate you guys. Let's get into round number 3, as I'm going to update rankings on my end, or just marking off players on my end to make sure I know who's available. Yeah, I like Jordan James, man. I mean, there's a ton of running backs that will be available in round 3 that I think can be starters in the NFL draft. It'll just come down to, you know, like, for example, Jordan James here, he went round 4, right?
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken.
Round 5. So I'd have a tough time drafting him too much higher than where he went, but Jackson Dart comes off the board. Yeah. He's a Seahawk in round 3. Then Tez Johnson, my beloved Tez Johnson, comes off the board.
I think he went to the Cowboys.
I was definitely eyeing him up. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah, he went to the Cowboys in the 3rd.
Okay. So Tez Johnson, Cowboys in the 3rd. I think he's a great fit in that offense long term. So I love that. I mean, that'd be the perfect fit alongside CD. You can play CD inside, outside. You know, now thinking about it, maybe it wouldn't be the perfect fit because you'd like to put CD in the slot a lot, but they'd obviously figure that out.
Yeah.
Harold Fannin comes off the board. Fannin went to the Chargers in round 2. And honestly, like, that's a great pick. Fannin round 2 to the Chargers. You get him at the 303. I like that pick a lot, especially with how they utilize the tight end this year.
Yeah, I like that landing spot. That's what I was hoping that falls to me. But there is another tight end that does fall. Let's see.
I am on the board. I'm just going to double check a couple names here. That guy went in round 5. Okay, how about this guy? Yep, he's buried. Okay, I'm going to take... Man, I'll probably take Elijah Arroyo here. I haven't scouted him enough yet. Or Arroyo. I just know he was like the highlight of the tight end position at the Senior Bowl. So, seen incredible footage of him from the Senior Bowl. He's been open the entire time and pretty great athlete. I still need to scout him myself, but he does go round 2 to the Bengals, who have a pretty big need at tight end. So I'll go ahead and make that pick there.
That's what I was hoping for. Alec A.O. Manor also goes off the board, if I'm not mistaken. He goes to the Packers.
Where
in
did
the second round.
Jaden Higgins go?
Higgins went to the Raiders in the third round as
Okay.
well.
So maybe that will shed some light to people as far as why Higgins fell that far. Because again, he was a Raider in a late round pick or a mid round pick.
Yeah. And I'll take Xavier Restrepo here, who goes to the Panthers in the third round.
Okay. So Xavier Restrepo off the board as well. Just a guy who can produce. You know, put him in the offense. He can be your wide receiver 3 for you.
Yeah, loving it.
Wyatt says, I definitely need to do more research to be knowledgeable on these picks. I haven't looked into it much. Been watching you guys on lunch the last couple of days. Love to hear it, my friends.
Yeah, huge love.
Yeah, I have an idea for a video. I don't know whether I should release this video, and I guess I'll kind of pull the chat here a little bit. I don't know if I should release this video now or closer to rookie drafts, because I feel like maybe it will do better closer to rookie drafts. But basically, the video is going to be built around historical hit rates, and I've updated it. It will be updated in version 2 of our rookie report. But, you know, looking through historically, okay, how often does a round 1 wide receiver hit for fantasy football? How about a round 2 running back? And, you know, going through every position. And I have updated that recently.
I think it's right before the drafts, personally.
Yeah,
that'll be great.
It probably does better before the draft. Maybe that's when I will do it. I don't know, but
I think it has to be like a couple weeks. To talk about it. Can breathe it. Yeah.
Yeah. Evan Stewart already went back to school, so let's try that pick again. I'm gonna give Wyatt another chance because Evan Stewart is already back at Oregon. He's already declared back, and our rookie report, which again comes out in a week's time, the version 2 will have updated returns, so you guys know exactly what players have decided to come back as well. Because I know there's not a reliable source, but our rookie report will be a reliable source for you guys there. But after Jaden Higgins and Alec Manor, we saw Savion Williams come off the board. I believe he went to the Dolphins as well. Then Gunnar Helm. Dylan says, you know what time it is. Yes, our resident Jaden Higgins stand here.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. What's happening, Bridgerton? Do your thing, brother. Sometimes life gets busy, and that's okay.
Yeah, welcome in, brother. Welcome in. All right, I think Wyatt is just not with us, so I'm going to change that to Quinn Ewers, which was the next available player.
Yeah, that's fine.
I think we can quick fire through round 4. Let's quick fire through. There's enough players in this round 7-round mock draft to do so.
Yes.
This is the link to the mock draft that we used. I'll put it in the chat for you. But yeah, let's quick fire through a round 3. Or a round 4, sorry.
Yeah.
So this is Donovan Edwards. I was going to ask which Edwards is this, but yeah, Donovan Edwards wants a Devi darling, but really
fell off the face of the earth.
Yeah, he did. I mean, did he get drafted in this one?
No, he didn't. I don't think he did.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of his film, and damn it, Brashard Smith coming off the board. I really was hoping Brashard Smith was going to fall to me. But yeah, he does come off the board. Brashard Smith, by the way, one of my favorite guys, had a great Senior Bowl. He goes to the Commanders in round 5. I think he would be the perfect piece in this offense for the Austin Eckler long-term replacement. All right, and then Daniel Macy we've got on the clock here.
Pretty sure he's looking for somebody.
So yes, this is a good question. Top 24. So the hit rate is different for every position, guys. Right? Because a top 24 quarterback doesn't mean anything. So there's actually 2 levels of research that I've done, and one I'm calling star, the other I'm calling superstar. For the minimum for a star is a top 12 points per game season from a quarterback or a tight end. And for running backs and wide receivers, it's top 24 points per game. But then if you want to go to see who hit as a superstar, it has to be a top 6 points per game season for quarterback, tight end, or a top 12 points per game season for running back, wide receivers. And that will be reflected in our rookie report, like I mentioned. All right, I am going to go ahead and take Woody Marks off the board here. He does go to the Colts, so I understand why he's still available. It's not really the ideal landing spot, and he goes there in round 4. But I still really like this player, and I think he'd be the perfect complement for Jonathan Taylor.
Okay, Woody Marks, Jaquavius Marks, actually.
That's right. That's right.
Jaquavius.
Yeah, I think he's been going by Woody for a minute, so I'm surprised that these
Yeah, like this.
these sites don't update his name.
Yeah.
Khalil Molling's coming off the board. I am going to do an updated running back rankings video, but I can tell you, wasn't the biggest fan of him myself. I know he converted from a linebacker to a running back. I think it shows. I'm not a huge fan of it. He's an average starter in college. I don't think there's a single trait that really stands out as like above average. But he's a big body. He's a bruiser. He's got great ball security, but there's not very much elusiveness. He's not going to make a man miss in the open field. Badaki, I want you to guess how many receptions he had this year. How many receptions do you think Khalil Mollings had this year without looking?
I mean, he's a running back, no?
Yep.
I would say 20 to 30. That's where I'll go.
He had 6 receptions.
Oh.
He had 8 total targets, which, sometimes you can say, well, in college, we don't know what offenses are, if they're targeting their running backs. And to be fair, Donovan Edwards was the running back they wanted to target when they were targeting a running back. That's
what I was going to say. Didn't he have somebody ahead of him?
Well, he was their starting running back, but Edwards was the receiving guy. But still, 6 receptions, about as bad as a profile you could see. Doesn't mean he can't catch. It just means that's a huge question mark.
Right.
He's not a home run hitter. Well below acceleration. He's good in pass protection because he got body of a linebacker. But I think, it's funny. A former Michigan running back is a good comp. That's Hassan Haskins. I think that's probably not exciting for people, but that is kind of how I feel about him. After that, we had RJ Harvey, who I really like. You drafted Torrey Horton. Gabriel come off the board. Bashul Tootin, who I definitely like. I like Tootin. I mean, if Tootin didn't have the fumbling concerns, he'd be much higher in my rankings, but he's had, I think, 9 fumbles in 2 years. A little bit of a concern for me. And then Jay Knott, who went back to school. So Wyatt, I think, left us and is drafting all the players who are still in college. But anyway.
That's okay.
Anything you want to say about this 4th round before we move on?
No. I mean, someone keeps talking about Pat Bryant here.
Yeah.
Let's see where he went to the Bills in the 4th round. So that's about it.
All right. I'm not the hugest Pat Bryant fan. I'm kind of indifferent on him. Don't have a strong opinion. I don't lean heavy either way. But I think he's probably going to be think about Cedric Tillman. I think that's probably the role or the pathway for a Pat Bryant myself. But
yeah, no, that makes sense.
But yeah, it's okay, Wyatt. Don't worry, man. Don't worry. I agree, Mad Hats. I'm a big fan of RJ Harvey and Woody Marks as well. Yeah, Michael makes a great point. The offense wasn't really pass happy. I mean, they rotated with 3 quarterbacks. So yeah.
Slater, gosh.
All right. That is it for the rookie draft. We are doing a 2-part stream, like we said. We are now going to transition this to team reviews. Let's pull this up. We do have 3 teams in the queue right now, which we will get to. And actually, we have 4 because I think the mate just purchased one as well.
Yeah, appreciate you guys. That's awesome.
But all right, sweet. So let's get to these team reviews. Texas Toast is going to be first. Then we'll go Sinful by Nature, then Cole, and then the mate. Yes, Ott did go back, which I think was the right decision for him. I don't think he would have been drafted in the first 5 rounds anyway. So definitely the right move for him. But all right, let's transition this over to reviewing some of your guys' teams. If you guys are out there and you want your team reviewed, we're going to give everyone a team playbook tonight. And everyone also purchased the live review on tonight's stream, so they'll also be getting the live review. There's two ways you can get your team reviewed and get your team playbook. The first way is by becoming a yearly Mother Flocker member with the promo code LAND. All right, and we got a little QR code here on the screen for you if you like, but you get our 2025 rookie report, which is updating in 1 week's time with a whole bunch of new profiles, new rankings, historical hit rates will be in there. It's going to be packed full of information. Obviously, you get the Dynasty playbook, the team review, free trade voucher. You unlock our complete rankings, all premium tools and databases on the website. Being a yearly member is the best bang for your buck. So become a yearly Mother Flocker member with the promo code LAN. The other option, if you want that team playbook, is by purchasing one a la carte. All right, so if you're on a different promo code and, you know, let's say you're with code FLOCK or you don't want to become a member, you can still visit the Flock store. You can go to team review here. Let me get rid of these rookie pictures. Once you get there, you can click on a team that you've already linked up. If you haven't linked up a team, then just go to link. And if you're with MFL, just submit screenshots and your league ID. But if you have linked up, it'll automatically submit your settings. Obviously, choose your team. Make sure your draft picks are correct. Then what you'll want to do is you'll want to hit continue at the bottom right, which let me go ahead and make us a little bit smaller here on the screen. And I'll also put us top right. Let me move this. Okay. There we go. And then you click continue. After that, you will see land, and make sure you choose Fantasyland. The baseline is offline review. Some people prefer that because they don't want their league to see the review. It's just $10 more to guarantee that live team review if that's what you prefer. Let me just quickly double check something here before we continue. Let's come here. Let's try this again. I think it's pushed us to the bottom of the list again for some reason. Let's see. Okay, no, we're good. That was weird. All right, so let's get to the first review, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it. Texas Toast 1996. Appreciate you. Thank you so much for the support. You are first up on the day, or the night, technically. Let's have a read of this context here. He said, "What's up, boys? I want to start off by saying, love the content. Keep it up, fella. Keep it up. Feel like I appreciate you. Feel like I'm a few moves from contending from the next 1 to 3 years. Want to emphasize getting a tight end. Thoughts on moving for a better quarterback? What to do with Ken Walker? Just finished third in my first Dynasty season draft targets." Okay, so this is a 1 quarterback, 12 team start 8. And that's just your classic meat and potatoes. 2 running back, 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 2 flex spots there. So nothing too crazy or out of the ordinary.
I'm just letting people know that we're reviewing their team tonight. Sorry, give me 1 sec.
No, that's okay.
Sorry, you said it was a 1 quarterback, 12 team start 8.
Yes.
Okay, so that is meat and potatoes, like you mentioned.
Yeah, that is meat and potatoes here, and it looks like you are currently ranked 2nd out of 12 according to Zach's rankings here.
Yep.
Which is awesome. So that means you should have a pretty decent team. Let's see if there's any context in the other message system. Also formats 1 quarterback, 1 running back, 1 wide receiver, 4 flex.
Okay, so a little bit different. Let me fix that.
Yeah, I'm going to fix that as well here. So 1 quarterback, 1 running back, 1 wide receiver, 1 tight end, 1 flex.
Pretty much the same thing. It's just you have more flexibility with your roster. So you can start 100%. Up to 5 running backs or wide receivers.
He says, I have been offered to trade Kyler Murray for Herbert or JJ McCarthy straight up.
Okay.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. May be able to get Hawkinson with the 110 and a player.
I wouldn't pay more than the 110. I think that's already kind of stretching considering the strengths of this class. But we'll have a conversation about that.
We will. So let's have a look here.
Personally, I wouldn't pay more than the 110. I wouldn't add the 110 in a player. I'm not sure how many people are comfortable paying the 110 on its own, considering this class has so many good tight end prospects that we like that will probably get first-round draft capital. But anyway, something to think about for sure.
Yeah, so let's have a look at this team here. I put it on the wrong one. Anyways, okay. At the quarterback position, Justin Herbert, J.J. McCarthy, Geno Smith, Russell Wilson. I think this is a good quarterback room. You don't really have to do anything, especially in a one quarterback.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I was actually gonna say super flex. I was thinking super flex, but on one quarterback, you're right. It's actually pretty decent.
Yeah, it actually is pretty decent. At the running back position, remember you can only start one. Jonathan Taylor, Kenneth Walker, Chase Brown, Tank down. The list goes on there. So you have a starting running back, no matter how you set this lineup. At the wide receiver position, Jamar Chase, Drake London, Lamb McConkey, Jordan Addison, and then obviously you have Ben Sinnott or Sinat with the 110, 210. So you have all your first round picks in 2025. So you are actually going to be potentially trading away Justin Herbert for Kyler Murray or JJ McCarthy for Kyler Murray, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Straight up, I actually think I'd rather keep Justin Herbert. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd keep Herbert, but I wouldn't be opposed to doing the McCarthy-Kyler swap. I mean, you're kind of taking a what if for a what you know, but I also wouldn't be surprised if JJ McCarthy comes out this year, and it's a very quarterback-friendly offense, so many good weapons around him, and he instantly catapults himself into the top 12. And, you know, Kyler, maybe we have more question marks around. So I think it's a conversation we can have, but maybe we leave it till later on. By the way, we were able to finally have waiver wires added into the team review, which is great. I'm loving that we're seeing that.
I don't see it on my end, which is a little bit frustrating.
You just have to click the picks button.
Oh, you do? Okay, hold on a second. Oh, right. Okay, so you can just filter through that, which is awesome.
Some of my highest ranked names available, De'Ami Brown, I think is worth rostering for sure, which we'll talk about.
I think we need to put a worth rostering tab
on the playbook.
On the playbook. It might be difficult because some leagues won't have that option.
No, if we can make a space for it, I think that'd be cool.
I need to figure it out though.
Anyway, all right. I like that feature which we requested from the devs, and they were able to hook us up. But thinking through the starting lineup right now, it would be Herbert, Taylor, Chase, and then Ertz, and then you can start four flexes. So that would probably be Walker, Brown, London, McConkey. That's a good lineup. That's already a good lineup, assuming Brown keeps his job. I mean, if Brown doesn't, then you replace Brown with Addison. And it's still a pretty good lineup. It is a 12-team league as well. So considering it's a 12-team league, that lineup is even stronger, in my opinion. Draft capital is kind of middle of the pack here. I think maybe B- type of draft capital. Overall team grade, I'd say like a B+. Feels fair.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
B+.
B+ seems pretty fair here for Texas Toast. Now
some Texas. Come on, man.
Let's talk about his untouchables. That would be Jamar Chase. I don't think there's another one. I think that is his only untouchable. Yeah, give me Pinks over the 108 all day. What's up, Alex? Welcome in.
How you doing, man?
As far as holds, well,
I think holds.
Ben Sinnott definitely comes to mind.
I give him 4 here.
I think Adonai Mitchell is worth holding because I think he's a good player, just in a bad situation. I would say JJ McCarthy's technically a hold, but we will talk about
that trade.
We will talk about the trade. How many is that? How many do we have now? How many
That's
holds?
3. Benson, Adonai Mitchell,
Okay.
JJ McCarthy.
I also like Parker Washington, who I'd like to give a shout out to. Liam Cohen going over to the Jags. They don't have a slot receiver outside of Parker Washington for their future, so they probably are going to draft someone. But if they don't, he could produce in that offense with what
Big
Chris
hands,
Godwin
great
did.
hands. Come on.
Yeah, huge hands. As far as drops, I'm comfortable to drop a lot of people on this team: Grant Calcaterra, Emmanuel Wilson, Jermaine Burton, AJ Dillon. I would go on to venture that Russell Wilson probably worth nothing in a format like this. Start 8, but if you can get a 4th for him, maybe we can keep him and try and get a 4th. But I don't think he's going to be worth much, if anything. Team pathway. This, you got some young players. I definitely think contender. This is a contender, I'd say.
Yeah, I think this is a contender because, yeah, I agree.
I'm
I
not gonna say
completely
it's like the strongest contender tag we've ever given, but
Yeah, I
it's still a
agree.
contender. It's not windows open because the team's so young and he still has his future first round picks. But let's talk about those picks that he has this year. This team is perfectly set up to draft a Tyler Warren,
Another one,
a Colson
Colston.
Loveland, right? I mean, you don't have
Yeah.
to. You could also go running back there with like your Judkins if they're there, Hendersons if they're there. I doubt Caleb or Omarion's there, but we'll add them to the list. I think if you're going to go and keep this pick, that's the direction you need to go. One of those directions. Because that's kind of the needs of this team. Then if you look at that second round, it's just this huge tier of running backs and wide receivers that we like. I mean, you can add like a tight end there if there's a tight end that makes sense. I really don't think Matthew Golden will be available this late, but whatever the best available tight end is at that point, you can definitely consider. And I think it's true BPA for, obviously these next two picks. We don't know exactly what to say at this point, but let's say you walked away with Tyler Warren and Devin Neal. I mean, that's a pretty good haul.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're actually able to, let's say the Bengals do draft a running back in round 3 and you're able to secure him at the 210, that makes you a little bit more comfortable with Chase Brown as your RB3, But yeah, that instantly fills a need for you. You still have Ertz who could re-sign and Ben Sinnott who might break out if Ertz doesn't re-sign. Either way, I think that really fills the need for you at the 110. Now, it is a one quarterback league, so maybe those tight ends don't fall that far.
That's what I was thinking. This is why I was trying to figure out what can we get for the 110 or who can we buy on the low? Like, let's just say we don't use the 110. Can we use the 212 or like a second round pick in 26 maybe to get a tight end, or do we package?
Well, he talked about how he had the offer of TJ Hawkinson, right, which was the 110. I think if you trade the 110, it needs to be for a tight end, because then you really aren't giving yourself any
way to help your team
or
to improve at all.
You could go running back here and then use the 210 to trade for like a very low level tight end, right? So like if you use the 110, I mean TJ Hawkinson, that feels about fair to me. Is he worth more than that on KTC as like a one quarterback league? Because that feels pretty fair to me.
It says 110 is worth more.
It does in a one quarterback?
In a one quarterback, not non-tight end premium.
And honestly, like, what about Laporta? Is Laporta in that range then? Laporta's in that range. I think if you can get Hawkinson plus based off the market, I definitely am open to it. But the fact that he wants you to pay the 110 and something for Hawkinson, I think is a little silly. But even something simple like...
Well, this guy that has Hawkinson has Jordan Whittington. So, like, Hawkinson and Jordan Whittington, because I know, obviously, with the Cooper Kupp news, that might be... I mean, look, if that's still possible, sure.
Or even something simple like a pick swap, where he gives you the 209 and you give him... Is it the 209 that he has? And we give him the 210, we move one spot. Yeah. So if you move one spot or something, that could be interesting. But, again, it would need to be pretty simple, I'd say. Maybe you can add in like a future fourth to this third to the side that you're getting, and send a future fourth if you really want to, think of all your options there. But if you can get Sam Laporta, I think we might be willing to pay more for Laporta than the 110. For example, who has Laporta? I mean, would they even be looking to sell Laporta?
Let's see.
They have Kelsey, so they might be interested. If we sent Laporta, would you go 110? 110 Javonte?
For Laporta? Absolutely.
That's an idea that could make sense. The other route is you go and you target a running back at the 110. We've talked about these names like James Cook. He already has Ken Walker. What was the other name that back end of the first?
Chuba Hubbard.
Chuba Hubbard, yeah. So that's your other route. And then what you would try to do is take the 210 and go trade that for a veteran tight end that's just well down these consensus community rankings. For example, could you get Kelsey for it? Jonnu Smith? Evan Ingram? Right?
Yeah.
Are any of these guys doable for the 210? Because then if you're able to get one of those, like, I might even pay the 210 and the 410 for Ingram. But if you're able to get like one of these band-aids at the position, because tight ends are very unpredictable anyway. You know, you can really spend the 110 on either a running back, or you can go and get like a Judkins, Henderson, Hampton, Omarion, like whoever you see fit there.
I agree.
The other option that he talked about was sending away McCarthy. We won't do this for Herbert, but sending away McCarthy for Kyler Murray. Would you do that?
Yes, I would.
I think I'm fine with that. I actually think you could
have
probably ask for something back as well. Like, would you try and snag Godwin or a pick swap? I would try something like this, where you get Chris Godwin back, and you send them your 310. The other option is where you do a pick swap, where you get the 107, they get the 110. That just puts you in a better range, and then you can maybe throw at them your 310 as well to get that done.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right. But yeah, I mean, this team is definitely competing, 100%. And it's a good squad. Even currently constructed, it's a good squad with what Ertz was doing back into the season. But I think if I added a Kelsey there, an Ingram, a Jonnu Smith, or, I don't mind that Band-Aid option.
Yeah, exactly. I don't mind that Band-Aid option either. I'm just going to have a look one more time to see who's available at the tight end position on the waiver wire. Eric All.
I think he's a drop after that injury. He's out for the year again.
Yeah, he tore his ACL, no?
Yeah. And they already reported he's out for the year in 25.
What about Luke Shoemaker? He had a good role.
I'd rather add Jared Wiley if I go the Kelsey route and have both of those guys there.
Yeah. I think if you have the space, you can just pick him up, wait and to see what happens before the NFL draft, and then you can just drop him after.
Yeah.
Especially if you're gonna drop like the Emmanuel Wilsons, the Jermaine Burtons, the AJ Dillons. I mean, I personally would drop, or Russell Wilson, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
I'm happy for you to pick up 2 or 3 of these tight ends, see what happens, and if nothing happens in their tight end room, you're fine.
Yeah. All right. So I like this direction for this team. Honestly, I think you're competing. We've given a ton of ideas. If you're going to go Hawkinson, definitely try and pick up, like we said, a Whittington or some add on top of it. I like the Laporta route. I like the idea of getting Kyler Murray and tearing up to the 107. Is there another trade you want to highlight here? Maybe one of these 210s.
Oh, yeah, one of the 210 ones. I'd rather go for Evan Ingram, especially with Liam there. So let's do that one.
I think this is a fantastic plan for you moving forward, my friend. You're in a very good spot. You're definitely competing for a while with this roster. The only other thing before we move on, I don't think there's really any obvious sells. I mean, I would definitely be willing to pivot off of Ken Walker, so we can talk about that. I don't think you desperately need to. I'm not worried about it. But if I can pivot, I'm just going to say if you can pivot to any of these names, then I would. Like the Bucky Irvings, I would pivot to. Let me pull up my rankings here. Or consensus, rather. I'd pivot to James Cook.
Hell yeah. Give me Jimmy.
One of those
Super Bowl
names.
winning Jimmy Cook.
Super Bowl.
He should have. He would have took him to the Super Bowl if they just kept running the fucking ball.
Unfortunately, he's not going to see a Super Bowl this year.
Nah.
And then Chase Brown. I think Chase Brown, another one of those names where I'd be willing to pivot off of him. Honestly,
I mean,
it's the same names.
it's just exactly. It's the same names.
Or what you could do with Chase Brown is like the 10. What is he worth on KTC?
Let's see. Chase Brown right now worth 107 in a one quarterback.
Oh wow, really? Would you not make that trade and just
Get a tight end.
get a Judkins or get
Get
the
a
guy
Judkins
who
and then use the 110. Yeah, I'm happy with that. I
I think 105 to the 108 I think feels safe.
I think he can be a lot higher. Well, I guess he's projected high right now.
I would also
without
that tells
the
me
capital.
Ken Walker's probably worth the 103 range, and I would sell him for the 103 to the 105 in one quarterback as well. Outside of that, I'm very happy with this.
On KTC, by the way, Kenneth Walker is RB12. Chase Brown's RB11. Just FYI.
Okay, that's very confusing.
So stop us. He's worth like the 107 to the 109.
Well, I wouldn't sell Ken Walker for the 108 in a one quarterback. But or I wouldn't. I would prefer him over the 108 in one quarterback. But I mean, if you can get the 105 to the 106, I would do it. But yeah, let's highlight that Chase Brown trade, because if that's possible, I definitely would be willing to pursue that as well.
Yeah.
All right.
We
else?
appreciate you, Texas. Now, give him the spiel. Appreciate you. You'll get your team playbook within 48 to 72 hours with all the customized information with the chalkboard, untouchables, holds, drops, and all that catered to your team. Thank you so much for being patient, and you'll once again get that within 48 to 72 hours.
Yes. Appreciate you, my friend. Appreciate you big time. We will move on to our next team. And
Sinful.
Zach is in the building. He says, I'm up next. Alex, by the way, says, are you aware of Efton Chisholm, sleeper this year's draft? I actually just looked him up.
Efton Chisholm.
You know, and he goes on to
sounds
say
like
he broke Cooper Kupp's reception record at Eastern Washington. No, I have not heard of him. And this is a player where it will be virtually impossible to watch any of his film. So I don't really know how we will scout him. But
Isms. You know what that sounds like? Who was that dude that was going crazy on Twitter last year and everyone made him up? It's like, yo, have you watched him?
That was a couple years ago.
Have you watched him? Have you watched his film?
I really
and
can't
it was
remember
like,
what his name
can't remember
was.
his name. Yeah, anyways. Good times.
What was that name? That was pretty funny. It was a running back.
Yeah, he was like a running back, and they had a whole story behind him on Twitter, genuinely. And people were like, oh.
I can't remember.
Anyways.
Maybe someone in our chat will remember what that was. If you guys remember that name people made up, and it was just really funny. All right, anyway. All right, Sinful by Nature, Zach is with us. What's up, my dog? We have a lot of messages from him. Was it Leon Sandcastle? That doesn't sound right, but there could have been multiple.
It wasn't Leon Sandcastle. It was like... It wasn't Sandcastle.
Yeah.
I feel like we tweeted it, or like you retweeted it, maybe.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Once.
Anyway.
I remember what I'm looking up. Yeah, find out for us.
12 teams start 10, by the way, here. Superflex.
That's middle ground. And obviously, Zach, you are here with us. Let us know if there's anything wrong or any other information you want to tell us. But this is a 2 quarterback 10 team. It's a 0.5 tight end premium. So this is middle ground. Let's have a look at this. He says, what's up, Sinful by Nature? And I took over this team 1 week ago. And my main goal when I took over this team was to get as many top tier wide receivers as possible and as much 25 draft capital to ensure I can rebuild this team this offseason. I sent you a list of trades that I made since taking this team, essentially. Okay. All right. You are currently
So-
ranked.
There's a whole bunch of trades that he sent in the Discord. I'll just pull it up for us here. Okay, so this is trade 1. Which it looks like it's always harder to see here than the Flock site, but it looks like, let me just pull all these up.
I mean, I've seen the first trade, and I'm telling you, I'm loving it right now.
Maybe he's just looking for confirmation that he's taking the right route. Do you guys say route or route?
I say route.
I say route too. Route, I'm not saying it's the wrong way to say it, but it just makes me think of having sex. For some reason.
I feel like root is like, I only say root is like Route 66. Root beer, even though that's technically a different word.
Root beer I can get on board with. Actually, when you don't have, because root beer isn't a thing here in Australia.
No.
And some things you go back and you have, and you're like, this is either terrible or like, yeah, this is nice. I remember why I like this. Dr. Pepper, I went back and had after not having it for 6 years. Disgusting now to me. Don't know why. I used to love it. But root beer, I go back and have a root beer. I'm like, yeah, still bangs. Still bangs. It's just a classic.
Yeah, still bangs.
All right, let's have a look. First trade he got to AJ Brown in the 111 for A Rich, the 207 and the 307. I'll be honest with you, my friend. I'd be surprised if you get 111 for this package. So the fact that you got the 111 and AJ Brown is ridiculous. And he just took over this team a week ago. That's a huge win. The other one, he got Connor and Etienne. He sold Hill, Walker, and the 407. I'm not in love with this one, I'll be honest with you. I like Etienne. I like the idea of buying him low, but I think this is paying too much for Connor and Etienne. I think Walker alone is worth more than that package.
I agree.
Given his age, his recent form, and that's just my opinion. But 1 for 2 so far. Other trade was he got McCarthy, the 102, the 202, and the 201 for Joe Burrow. This is Superflex.
This is super flex. I'll tell you this right now. I don't like this trade.
I don't love this one either.
Just because
I love the idea, but not the package.
I think there's a lot around it, right? Sinful. Maybe you've been on a live stream with us. I'm not as confident to say that JJ McCarthy will start in 2025. I do believe Sam Darnold could be on this team.
I believe and that's where 99% sure that Darnold is gone.
Yeah, and my belief is like, I think it's 50-50. I genuinely believe he can stay. That's nothing against JJ McCarthy and his talent. That's just more like, you could either have traded for a quarterback that might not start for the next 2 years if Sam Darnold does get a contract extension and stays with the Vikings. Other side that Zach's thinking of, that's great. You got
my side of it is Sam Darnold completely shit the bed in the playoffs. They know how far they can go with him, and they drafted J.J. McCarthy for a reason and with something in mind. And I am 99% sure that he's going to play this year. But I understand Badaki's. It is Dominic Elwood. Yeah. That is the name, by the way.
Dominic Elwood.
That is
100%.
The name. That was circling around a couple years ago. Everyone's like, let's just pretend. And it was funny because some people who were presenting content or on Twitter, people were like, what do you think about Dominic Elwood? And they would reply seriously. And they'd be like, oh, yeah, I really like him, man. Like, and talk about traits of his. And then people who knew were like, you're making shit up because this isn't a real player. Anyway, we should make something up again. We should make something up again.
We need to get it. It's good to do it now because the Senior Bowl just ended.
Yeah. By the way, Texas Toast super chat says, appreciate the review. Boys, sorry I wasn't on to respond. I was on the clock. Dude, don't say sorry at all. We appreciate you. Very kind. It was a fun team to review.
Yeah.
Okay. So look, I like JJ McCarthy, and even I think you didn't maximize value here. Joe Burrow's coming off, one of his better years. If I'm not mistaken, of his career. Like, what did he do on a points per game basis? I know it was well over 20 because I had him in the Flock League. He was great. He was the quarterback 3 on a points per game basis, 22.5 points per game, career high. And
that'll be cool.
I love the idea of the package. I don't like the return. I think this should have been McCarthy. The 102 is a problem. I don't have a strong conviction in the 102. If that was the 101, we'd be having a different conversation. But the 102, I don't think you can sell it for any haul this year. I just don't think you can. It's not possible. So to me, that needed to be McCarthy, the 102, and probably another first along with these seconds. Right?
Yeah, that's
where I think it falls short. 1 first-round pick value short.
But that's okay. In mind,
now,
next trade.
Love the next trade.
Yeah, this is great. Tearing up.
Beautiful. Especially for a rebuilder. I would do this as a contender. The next trade, this is where he sent away the 102. He got the 106 Hawkinson, the 206. Like, look, I like this deal. You got Hawkinson on top of it, but yeah, I mean, look, I guess the deal looks a little bit better if you add Hawkinson in the 106 instead of the 102 here. But I still think it's slightly short of value.
I think so as well, because I get it. It's a tight end premium, but it's 0.5. And
yeah,
I've said this
the premium isn't that big of a deal.
Long. The premium is not that big of a deal. I don't think. That's why I think if you're going to play with the premium, it should be a full point or not at all. But maybe that's just my personal preference. 0.5 doesn't mean anything to pay the premium for someone like a TJ Hawkinson.
It makes an impact, but not to the point where it drastically impacts my moves. Look,
yeah,
this trade looks better when you add Hawkinson and the 206 and the 106, right? But I still feel a little short on it. And I also don't know for sure if you couldn't have sold the 102 for more value in April. I'm not so sure. Like, in April, do you keep your 4th, 3rd, and 4th, and you only send the 102 for this deal? Maybe you get more, you know?
That just makes so much more sense, because if Tech goes to the Patriots, somebody's going to want to pay the premium on that because he's linking up with Drake May, et cetera, et cetera.
Or imagine we get Travion Henderson as a first-round pick, and it's like the Jahmyr Gibbs effect where it was like, oh, shit, we knew he was going round 2. Round 1?
Yeah.
And then another deal where I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of Keon Coleman, but this makes a ton of sense. I think you sent a bunch of will never be impactful on your roster for a could be impactful on your roster.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
Overall, I like about half of the trades, but that doesn't mean they're bad. It just means the way that we evaluate them right now, we'd like about half of them.
Yeah.
And that's okay. That doesn't mean that they're bad trades, right? But
let's have a look at this roster.
Drake and Ball Z is his name.
Drake and Ball Z.
Currently ranked
let's have
3rd.
a look. Yeah, currently ranked 3rd out of 12. Once again, this is a start 10, so keep that in mind. 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 3 flex. You can start up to 5 or 5 running backs or 5 wide receivers. Drake May, JJ McCarthy, Will Levis, and the list goes on there. So having Drake May and Joe Burrow felt like significantly better, but I understand with the hole that you got. I
do, like I said, I do like McCarthy a lot more than Badaki at the moment, but even I can. I mean, let's be honest, he's rebuilding. That's a hell of a quarterback room for him to be 100%. In a rebuild with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So let's think about the team as a whole and not attach those values onto it anymore, because from a rebuilding perspective, that's about as good of a quarterback room as you could have.
Yeah. At the running back position, James Conner, Travis Etienne, Tank Bigsby, and the list goes on. So at least you have that Jags backfield locked up there. And you have the 106. Yeah, or does he? You have the 106 and the 107, which is not too bad. At the wide receiver position, you can start up to. I'm already forgetting.
By the way,
that's a 5 wide receivers.
I believe Sam Darnold's going to start the undefeated of the East. I'm not sleeping on him. He'll be a starter. I just don't think that's in Minnesota. But continue.
I think there's still a 50 chance that he's in Minnesota. Anyways, 5 wide receivers: Brian Thomas, Drizzy, Ladd, T, Ayuk, Downs, Keon. Nice. Great wide receiver room with TJ Hawkinson, Jonnu Smith there with the 106 and the 107. In the wings. You also have the 111 as well.
I mean, as a rebuilder, when we got Hawkinson, right? But as a rebuilder, if McCarthy starts, you're closer to a sleeper than a rebuilder as a pathway.
Even if McCarthy doesn't start, you still have picks in a range where you could potentially get a quarterback. Not saying you should, just saying you could get a quarterback still and have another backup plan. Is that the move we'll probably recommend? Probably not, just depending on how you feel about these quarterbacks. But yes.
But just overall point is you're not actually, like, this is not a full rebuild. At worst, it's a 1-year punt. If we're looking at our pathways here, right at the bottom. At worst, it's a 1-year punt. It could be a sleeper team. Like, if these picks go the right way, it could easily be a sleeper team. So, something to consider, right? I'm going to get rid of all these picks because we've talked about them, all those trades.
I'm just going to put one. I think his team could be 1-year/sleeper by the end of this. So I'm just going to put 1-year/sleeper on that graphic.
Yeah. I think punt is an important word to add there, though. So
yeah, 1-year punt/sleeper. That's what I meant to say. Yeah. All right.
All right, so let's just say you stick and pick. I mean, you are very well knowledged, Zach, in Dynasty. You've got a very good understanding of this class. I know you do. We talk all the time. But you're in that range, right? You're in that range with the 106 and the 107. At the 110, you get into that tight end range, that Judkins range. It really depends on how your league drafts. I mean, let's go ahead and assume that McMillan is not going to be available based off consensus that late. Probably not going to get a Hampton that late either. I doubt you get a Burden, but we've seen crazier things. And Judkins is probably more realistic. Egbuka is probably more realistic in this range as well. At the 201, I mean, it's really the same range. Same with the 202. You're going to get a nice haul if you stick and pick here. I mean, at the 204, it's really that running back range, isn't it?
Yeah.
With the added addition of, like, the Golden Royals. You have a good amount of draft capital to make an impact here. I don't think Burden or McMillan will be there, but let's just say you ended up with, I don't know, let's go Caleb Johnson, Travion Henderson. You come back at the 111, you grab Emeka Egbuka. And at the 112, you grab, I don't know, Tyler Warren falls and you see it as a value, so you grab him. And then Judkins makes his way somehow to the 202. He goes in the 3rd round. You know, I mean, you have a chance to really make an impact straight away with this capital. Let's say at the 202, we go Matthew Golden instead, right? Because we've already taken so many running backs. So let's just play out that world. I mean, you could also, extend this to like the quarterback range if you wanted to, where we go Cam Ward. You know, I'm not the biggest fan of Cam Ward, but in a rebuild, I don't mind the idea of playing the lottery. So you grab Cam Ward there, and you have a lot of opportunities here. So let's just say you ended up with Caleb Johnson, Quinshawn Judkins, Cam Scattaboo. You add that running back room to Connor, E.T., and Bigsby. There's a chance you compete right now with that room. You add Cam Ward as your quarterback 3. You add Tyler Warren in as well as another tight end that you can either trade or build around. I mean, that's a great haul for this team. And the fact that we are rebuilding or the 1-year punt really leads me to believe that we probably shouldn't use these picks elsewhere. But I will just get on my soapbox really quickly and say, if you really want quarterback, maybe use the 106 to go get a quarterback. Like, you know, can you snap a Michael Penix at this range if you were to add like the 206, for example? You know, can you go get, let me pull up my quarterback rankings here. Could you go get a Caleb Williams or a Jared Goff? Like, can you pay the 106 and the 111 for Caleb Williams? Can you pay the 106 and the 206 for Jared Goff? You know, like, I think if you want to go quarterback, I'd rather attack it from this angle rather than bet on this class, but that's just the way I've been approaching this. Or even like the 201 for Dak Prescott, which is his range right now. Sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, he was just asking how we feel about Cam Ward. And Zach is not the biggest fan of Cam. Not that I'm the big fan of Cam Ward. I think both these guys, these prospects have flaws. But I don't think
I'm not a fan of this class as a whole.
Yeah. I don't think he's going to I
think
we would rather get the quarterbacks in the league now, like the Baker Mayfields, the Jared Goffs, the Dax, like Zach's mentioned, over the Ward or potentially the Shador. I think he would prefer Shador for sure.
I don't have a strong opinion on Shador and Cam. Like I think Shador is a safer pick, but Cam has a higher ceiling, and most people want to pursue that ceiling, you know. But I'm not bullish on this class at all. I think all the quarterbacks have a lot of weaknesses that tell me day one there could be struggles as a starter, and if we want to project a class 1 year out, it's tough to see like a Jaden Daniels in this class. I'm struggling to see it. Like so a normal quarterback season, Badaki, let's keep this in mind. A normal quarterback season is what we just saw Caleb Williams do. Up, down, some good games, some bad games. What we just saw from who else started? I'm trying to remember. Drake May. Some good games, some bad games. Some good decisions, some bad decisions. Now, imagine you lose all the aura of being Caleb Williams and you attach that name to Cam Ward. Is that player going to drastically improve his value in 1 year? I don't think so.
Yeah.
But this is my concern.
You take Ward.
This is my concern with Ward is like Austin says, I feel like I've seen and he's got experience for Cam Ward, which has been a common trait out of the good rookie quarterbacks. And I agree with where Austin's coming from. My concern is why are there still these fundamental high school, you coach it out of a quarterback in high school mistakes on film from a guy who's played 5 years in college? Like the decision making for a 5-year starter is about as bad as it gets. So that's my concern. But anyway, we don't need to talk about that anymore. Because I will be annoying to people. I get it. But I think if you're going to target a quarterback, I'd rather go that route myself. Now, as far as players that, are untouchables, I think Brian Thomas is your untouchable. I don't really think there's another one. May is the second closest, or London, but I don't think there is one. As far as your holds, I'd hold Brandon Ayuk for sure.
Yeah, I have Brandon Ayuk, JJ McCarthy.
Yeah.
Josh Downs.
Yeah.
And you can either put T. Higgins or Travis Etienne, maybe.
I was gonna say Keon because at this point, what could you sell Keon for? I mean, I'd probably take like the 201 or a late first if that's possible, but.
All right, so JJ, Keon, Ayuk, and Downs. And then easy drops is just Kareem Hunt with Zach Wilson. Or if you want to keep Kareem Hunt and see what happens, you can drop the quarterbacks like Zach Wilson, Mason Rudolph.
Yeah. As far as drops, you can definitely drop Zach Wilson. You can definitely drop Mason Rudolph. You could drop Marcus Mariota if you wanted to. You could drop Jaheim Bell. Those are the main names I would drop. I mean, I'm not completely opposed to dropping Luke McCaffrey if you need the space, but you might as well hold on to him. I'm not opposed to dropping Miles Sanders or Kareem Hunt if you need the space, but assuming you don't, you can hold on to them. But the other players, I like, again, thinking through a 1-year punt, I think the other players we would be open to trading would be your running backs in season. So, Jonnu, Connor, E.T., and Bigsby. I think that's really the big four. And Bigsby and Jonnu Smith. I think those are your four in-season trade away targets, because we know this, and I'm actually talking to someone who we've met recently, who approached us, and I want to create a really cool tool that will talk about this. But essentially, you got Connor now. The best time to sell him is going to be in season, right? But in season, can you net 2 seconds? Sorry. Is that possible? Can you package him with something to get a first in season? With Travis Etienne, can you get an early second in season? With Tank Bigsby, what's possible? I don't know. With Jonnu Smith, maximize that value in season. right? Like, though we can't say what they're worth because we don't know exactly what their seasons will look like just yet. The better they do, the more you can expect. The worse they do, you might want to try and hop off the train. But overall, I'll just say this: Zach, while we don't love all the trades that you made, I definitely like the direction you're going with everything. You know, like all the trades that he showed us, I'm like, all right, I can see how all these trades really fit your goal, which is right now 1 year punt. You're in a very good position. In fact, this is probably, if you had to ask anyone out there who played Dynasty football, said, what would you want your rebuild to look like if you took over an orphan? That's exactly what this is what they would want it to look like. So you should feel very good about it. But outside of that, I want to leave the floor to Zach to see what questions he has that we haven't answered. But I kind of lean towards sticking and picking for most of these picks.
Yeah, I completely agree because, you know, you're normally in the higher age. We would normally recommend you to trade back if you had like the 102, for example, but you traded that away. Draft capital and overall team grade of today.
Yeah, okay. Overall team grade. I have to consider the draft capital, obviously. He's got 1, 2, 3 firsts this year. I mean, draft capital grade, a lot of early seconds too. I'd say an A flat.
Yeah.
But overall team, there's great foundation here. I'm higher on JJ than you. I would put it at like a B plus for me.
Okay, that's fine. I was gonna put B flat, but we can meet at B plus, which is fine.
Yeah.
Let's see if Zach has any more questions. I'll let you know that.
Yeah, please. The floor is yours, Zach. He says, if I can't trade for another quarterback, where would you take Ward? I think that question will be answered with my rankings, which will be updated after the draft, because there's a lot of things that I don't know the answer to yet before I can give you that answer. Do you know what I mean? Like, what does the draft capital look like for all these other players? Where do these running backs go? How many go in round 2? How many wide receivers go round 1? You know, so I think that answer will be given with the updated rankings as far as how high I'd be willing to take him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that.
Zach says, yeah, I was going to try and contend and use Connor. But honestly, yeah, I mean, we're saying 1 year punt, but I actually think it could easily be a sleeper. Like, if one of these Caleb Johnsons, Judkins, if one of these guys can help you alongside James Conner, then you're in a position where you can definitely compete as long as JJ's starting. So you can easily turn this into a sleeper pathway. 100%. But yeah, please let us know if there's any last minute questions.
And as we're waiting for you, I'll let you know you'll get your playbook in the next 48 to 72 hours with a customized playbook with all the information in the Flog Fantasy DM system there on the website. Okay, so positional priorities, untouchables, holds, drops, the chalkboard, everything that we spoke about today is going to be there in your digital playbook. But we really appreciate you. Thank you so much, man.
Yes, appreciate you big time. And if anybody out there wants their team reviewed, it's very, very simple, guys. There's a couple ways you can get your team reviewed. First way is by becoming a yearly Mother Flocker member with the promo code LAND. By far the best bang for your buck. You get our rookie report, get all the premium tools on the website, the rankings, and you also get the live team review. The other way is if you're on a membership with a different promo code or whatever the case may be, you can purchase a team review a la carte with the link I'll put in the chat here for you now. And when you go through, just make sure you choose that live tier version if you like. And even if you don't have a league that links with our website, you can still upload screenshots. Plenty of people have done that before. But cool.
Yeah, appreciate you. I think that is the last one for me.
I love that plan, Zach. Go ahead, sorry.
No, I was gonna say I think that's the last one for me. I gotta go take care of Brooks now. But Zach is gonna continue. If I'm not mistaken. I think we have 2 more.
Yep, 2 more we'll get through tonight. If you guys want to sign up, we have an empty queue after tonight that's ready to go for anyone who wants their team reviewed. But yeah, Badaki will hop off, and he'll still obviously get these team playbooks within 72 hours to you guys. But yeah.
Love.
All right.
Lightest.
Alrighty. He's going to go take care of his baby. Okay. Let's get to Cole here. What's up, Cole? He says, new Dynasty startup last season. Realized my team was a rebuild after the first few weeks and sold off most of my team to start rebuilding going into the season. No idea what to do / where to go with this team. Constantly watching your videos for ideas, but would like to see it myself. All right, awesome. Appreciate you, Cole. This is a 1 quarterback, 12 team start 9. 1 quarterback, 12 team start 9. So you are the middle ground here as a lineup. You can start up to 5 receivers or running backs. Some iteration of that is what your lineup would look like. I know sometimes you have customized lineups. And your team name is Neighbors Think I'm Selling Dope. You're currently ranked 2nd in my rankings. And if you look at that yellow strip right there, that is the value of your picks. So I'm going to assume we have a very bare bones roster. But let's have a look at it. And yes, I am correct in that assumption. Very bare bones. A lot of draft capital to work with, which is great. Let me add that over here to your roster and get that all set up for you. But got the 101, the 102, the 104, the 108. So we have 4 first-round picks this year, which is fantastic. As far as rebuilding a team, that's a pretty good place to start. And we will talk about different ways to really utilize those picks best for your goal in mind, which is a rebuild, right? Because I don't think in a rebuild I really feel the need to stick at the 102 or the 104. I think you have a bunch of flexibility to move back at those picks, which we'll talk about. But team you got here Baker Mayfield, Brock Purdy, A-Rich, 1 quarterback. I'm not bothered by that. I'm not impressed by it, but it is what it is, right? I mean, a running back room is pretty weak. I don't feel comfortable with any of those guys long term. At wide receiver, you have Malik Neighbors. That is it. Then at tight end, you have Mark Andrews. Yeah, this is a full rebuild for sure. I mean, we are not a 1-year punt with this team. It's a start 9, but the only player outside of your quarterbacks and tight ends that I feel comfortable starting is Malik Neighbors. Everyone else is a huge question mark. So if I think through your starting lineup right now, it would be Baker Mayfield, Stevenson, and I guess Jonathan Brooks, but he's injured. Neighbors, what? Are we starting Marvin Mims? I don't know. Mark Andrews, and then you still need to start 3 players. Are we starting Marvin Mims, Luke McCaffrey, Tyler Lockett, Kate Otten? I don't know exactly what we're doing with our starting lineup yet, and I think your goal is really rebuilding, so that's okay to be in that position. I mean, a hard full rebuild. Your draft capital grade, you have a couple firsts. You have 3 firsts and 26, which is great. That's a great place to be. Your draft capital grade, I'll give an A+. But your overall team grade, we can't bank on this draft capital panning out. So we have to be realistic here. You're coming to me for honesty. I'm probably going to put the team, and I will include the draft capital here. C flat? C plus? C flat, C plus range? Malik Neighbors is your only untouchable. I would also add the 101 to that list, but I'm not opposed to trading it in your situation. But it will be there on the graphic. Your holds, I think, at this point, Jonathan Brooks is probably a hold. Jatavion Sanders is a hold. As far as drops, you don't have many players on your team in general. So I really don't think we should put any drops here. There's no one on your team in general. But if you need to drop someone, probably Alexander Madison. Probably Tyler Lockett. If you need to drop someone, but I wouldn't really suggest it unless you need it. All right. This is such an interesting team to look at. Mark Andrews instantly comes out as a potential trade away name. So we can look at potential trades for Mark Andrews. We can look at potential trades for I mean, your quarterbacks, they're just not worth anything in a one quarterback league. But I mean, could you sell Richardson for something? You might as well hold him at this point. I don't know if there's anyone else worth selling. I mean, we're not going to sell Malik Neighbors. Yeah, Stevenson maybe. Okay. Obviously, if you stick at the 101, it's Ashton Genty, right? I mean, we all know that by now. If you stick and pick, he's going to be the player that I feel the most comfortable building around long term. At the 104 and the 102, that's kind of the range we're looking at with, you know, the McMillan, Burden, Hampton, Johnson, Henderson range. And then at the 201, you're kind of like, what's left over from round one? That's kind of that range that you would be in. And this late in the draft, we're going to go true BPA because it'll be updated in our rankings, but we don't really know the answer right here, right now, today, right? But let's just hypothetically say you walked away with Genty, you walked away with McMillan, you grabbed Hampton, you came back at the 108 and you grabbed Henderson. You came back at the 201 and Matthew Golden was there. That's not a bad haul, whatever you get with the rest of your picks. So you add in a Genty, Hampton, Henderson to a running back room that has nothing. That's a great start. You add McMillan and Golden to a wide receiver room that has nothing. That's a good start. And then who knows what you do with the 212, the 301, and the 312, right? Now, I talked about this on a video recently, but if I have the 102 or the 104, I'm a big fan of trading back with that pick. I really don't have conviction on the 102 this year. I think it could be a lot of different players. And we talked about it in this video, so I'll bring that video up again. But in this video, we talked about ideally if we have the 102, we'd like to trade back to the 103 or the 107 and grab a future first. So I would suggest that as well with your roster. If you can go from the 102 anywhere in that range and get a future first, I think that makes a ton of sense for your roster. Let's say Ted McMillan goes to the Patriots and people get obsessed with the idea of him and Drake May. Can you get that done, right? Let's have a look at the teams in your league that have those picks, and we'll come up with some ideas. So the 105 and the 106 is owned by the same team. They have two future firsts. There's not really players that would make sense, but yeah. Let's say they want to go from the they want to tier up from the 106. Can they give you a future first? Would they be willing to do this and give you a DJ Moore? And then maybe you can sell DJ Moore for first round pick on his own. You know, there's different ways that you can go around that to get a deal like that done. All right, now we're just looking for the 107 because you pretty much have all the other picks at this point. I mean, you could even move down to the 103. Like, for example, if a team gets desperate enough in the actual rookie draft and you get the 103 and Jalen Waddle by tearing down, and you can send them, let's say you sent them the 212 and the 301, or you could go the 201 if they don't play ball at that price point. But I think that could make a ton of sense. But like we said, the 107. Who has the 107? We don't, right? Yeah, we know we don't. So let's find the 107 team. Here we go. Siglos. So the 107 and Ayuk makes a ton of sense. I mean, he has a 207. Can you also add the 207 on top of that? You'll know your range. The 107 plus a future first, right? So again, just trying to maximize value with this pick because there's such a huge range of players from the 102. And I talk about that in this video, which you can see the title at the bottom and go have a look at it. But there's just such a huge range in that 102 to the 107 range. It's huge, and it could even extend all the way to the 110, given the right deal. I mean, I'm not even opposed to trading back to the 110 if the deal is even bigger. You know, like if I'm really able to set myself up for the future. Who has a 111 at the top there? I mean, can you get the 111 in Nico Collins? I don't think that's possible, actually, thinking about it. The 110. So can you get Bucky Irving in the 110? Right? And then if you want to sell Bucky, you don't believe in him long term, you can do that. That's another option. But the point is, I just want to maximize value with that pick if I can. I think the 102 is the best pick to do so. Mark Andrews, I would say any first in any year will do for us, you know. But we can also have a look at, if anyone's willing to do that anymore, I doubt they are. Well, we can also look at tight end needy teams and guys who are ready to compete right now. Can you find your way into Chris Olave? Right, this guy needs tight end. Can you send him Mark Andrews and the 212? Does that get you into Chris Olave range? We don't need to figure out tight end right now in this rebuild. This guy literally doesn't have a tight end. Am I tripping? This guy literally doesn't have a tight end. I mean, can you get McMillan and the 111? And then you'll send him back Mark Andrews, the 212, the 301, 312, as much as you need to get that done. Let's see here. The Dalton Kincaid owner, can you get the 202? That's actually pretty fair, I'd say. But it's a one quarterback, so maybe you can net a little bit more. Let's say the 202, and you know, you throw in a Tank Dell to really add a little more insurance. Or you could do a future second if you don't like Tank Dell. Right, you net 2 seconds off of it. Those are your main teams that are going to need tight end. But how about like the 203 and Ridley as an example? Right, Ridley could be getting a new quarterback here soon. There's a chance his value could go up. And then as far as Ramondre Stevenson goes, it's any second in any year. The actual owner doesn't really matter. We just want to get a draft pick off of that. But that's the direction I would take it, my friend. You got a long road ahead of you. Like, I know it says full rebuild. This is maybe, it depends on how quickly you accelerate it and how many of these deals you get done. But this is probably a 2-year rebuild at minimum, maybe 3. You might be going into the 2027 offseason saying, are we ready now? But some of my favorite trades that you could do here, I'm obsessed with the idea of like the Waddles, getting DJ Moore, really maximizing that value. I like the idea of getting Olave, and then any second in any year for Ramondre Stevenson. Those are all really ideal moves for you, but you're definitely on the right track. You've got a very clear direction of where you want to go, but your team is far from there. So it's going to be a long way until you get to where you want to go, but at least you have the right map, right? The maps are updated. You don't have a map from 2008, and it's an offline physical map. You have the updated version of Google Maps, and you're going in the right direction. It's a long journey. It's a long journey ahead of you. So hopefully that is helpful. Cole, I appreciate you big time, my friend. And the last team review for today is the Mate. And if you guys are out there watching this is a great time to get your team review in, because you will be first on the queue for when we go live next. You can either become a yearly member with the promo code LAND or buy one a la carte on the Flock site. So that is an option. The Mate is here, which is fantastic. This will be the last review for today. So our queue will be completely empty, ready to go for another team review when you guys are watching this later on. But all right, the Mate, you are a 10-team start 9 super flex. Okay, start 9 super flex. That is meat and potatoes lineup. So you've got the potential to flex 2 players most likely. That means you can start to 4 wide receivers or running backs. It's a smaller lineup. You know, your blue collar lineup, and it's also a 10-team league. So the fact that it's a smaller lineup, the fact that it's a 10-team league tells me depth does not matter as much in this league as your typical league. He says, I'm unsure what exactly to do with this team. Is my best bet doing a one-year punt, selling Cook and Walker for future first? T. Higgins owners willing to trade T and Hurts, but don't know if getting Hurts is the right move for me. Thank you, guys. All right, cool. So first off, your team name is The Mate. You are ranked 2nd overall in my rankings, so you're not far off from my rankings. It is a super flex league. I can see your wide receiver room is quite weak there. You've got a good amount of draft capital, which I'll add to your playbook here. Let me set that up for you real quick. But that quarterback room, man, that's a good quarterback room you've got going on there. A lot of young players, a lot of veterans that you can rely on to start straight away. Now, it is a 10-team league, so we have to recognize that your quarterback room should be better than the average Superflex league we look at, because typically we look at those 12-teamers. But we'll keep that in mind as we look through. So you've got the 104, the 107, the 109, the 204, and a couple thirds and a fourth. So we've got May, Penix, McCarthy, Darnold, Fields. That's a lot of quarterbacks. I mean, maybe you could have sold Sam Darnold in season. That probably would have netted a big return, maybe a first-round pick, but now we need to wait to see where he signs. Everyone else is a hold in that room. You've got Cook, Walker, Tracy, Charbonnet, Wright, Marvin, Odunze, Worthy, Keon. Dang. It's funny because if you look at your wide receiver room, I still love Marvin and Odunze. And Worthy had a great second half of the season, but you look at most of these names from the 2024 class, and it was such a good class, but these guys were probably the guys that you would have ranked lower if you did a redraft now. They probably all didn't really meet expectations, right? Marv, Odunze, Coleman, Polk was terrible in an open wide receiver room. But you had Brock Bowers, which was fantastic, and a good amount of draft capital. So if I'm thinking through your starting lineup right now, it's probably May, Penix or Darnold, Cook, Walker, Marvin, Worthy, or Dunze, Bowers, and then we still need just 2 players, actually. And that's probably Tracy and Worthy. I mean, it's already a pretty, like, I don't think I would view this as a punt with the draft capital you have. I think this is a sleeper. I'd say this is a sleeper pathway. I think you already have enough foundation here. Maybe we use one of these quarterbacks. We use some of this draft capital. And I think we could be a sleeper. I mean, which, you know, a sleeper team can still be very young and you can still wait to see how the talent develops, you know. A sleeper can very easily be a one-year punt. You know, you go through the first 6 weeks of the season, you're 2-4. All right, let's commit to punt for the rest of the season. You know, I think that's the way you approach this offseason. Or this in-season in 2025. But all right, overall team grade. We've got 3 firsts. We've got 2 firsts and 26, which is fantastic. Overall team grade, I probably would lean. Remember, it's a 10-teamer. It's great that you have Brock Bowers. That would be a huge impact in this league. I'm going to lean like a B+. I'm going to lean a B+ here. In a 12-team, maybe this is an A-, but 10-team, I'd say B+, and it has a potential to really get up there in the A range. As far as your untouchables, I think it's Brock Bowers. I don't think you have another, if we're being honest. But you have a lot of players that could turn into an untouchable, right? As far as holds, I think you got a lot of holds on this team. Odunze, I would be looking at holding. JJ McCarthy, I would be looking at holding right now. Ben Sinnott is a hold. Keon Coleman's a hold. Penix is a hold, right? You have a lot of holds. Jalen Wright is a hold. As far as drops, you can probably drop Mason Rudolph if you want to. I just, you know, wait until the draft if you want to drop him. You can drop Noah Brown, Brendan Rice. I mean, Kamani Vidal feels droppable if you need another name. He had an opportunity to really make an impact and he didn't, you know. I struggle to see him being an important part of their team long term based off of his performance in his rookie season. And draft capital grade, I don't know if we gave it a grade, but I'd say a solid A flat. As far as players you could look to sell, I mean, Tracy comes to mind. Walker comes to mind. Not that you need to sell these guys, right? But if the price is right, I could definitely see myself selling them. Worthy is weird, man. Like, it depends on the price. We can explore it. It really depends on the price for him. But yeah, I think those are the main guys. I mean, when Darnold signs, we can look at, you know, when he signs. We can look at trading him away. But yeah, let's have a look at your draft capital. You stick and pick at the 104. You're in this range that we talked about a lot today. At the 107, the range really doesn't change for me. At the 109, you know, you start to look at some other names. And then at the 204, it's this big range of running backs. And then you just get true BPA pretty much down the board with these picks because we don't really know exactly how to value the third and fourth round just yet. By the way, the mate says, I was thinking of selling my running back room to try and get as many 26 first, using my first round to at least get 2 running backs. Then if need be, use those 26 first if I'm a sleeper to get guys. Yeah, I don't mind that idea. The only reason I'm not 100% sold on it is if the price is right, definitely. If the price isn't right, I mean, you might be in a position where you could compete this year. But overall, I'm still going to go true best player available at every pick if I stick and pick anyway. So let's say that ends up being Luther Burden and Henderson, and we come back at the 109 and, you know, we grab a Warren. Maybe the 109 is a good pick for you to sell because you already have Brock Bowers. And then we come back and get Devin Neal. Like, that haul is not a bad haul for you. The problem is the strength of this class is running back, and you need wide receiver more than anything else on this team. So, like, if Luther and McMillan were there, they'd be no-brainers, right? But what you could do is look to sell the 109. Like, if you wanted to go out and compete, you could look at selling the 109 for a veteran wide receiver. You're not far off, honestly. But if you were to sell Tracy, I think any first in any year, I think ideally 2027. That's just the class that I like a little bit better at the mate. I just feel better about that class overall as of right now. As far as Ken Walker, I really want to look at like consensus rankings right now with Ken Walker. You're Superflex, yeah. I feel like Walker is a hard name to sell right now. Okay. Oh, wow. So Josh Jacobs is really close. Like, if you're able to pull that trade off, that would send you into a sleeper where you could really go out and contend. But if you want to go the other route where, you know, you pick up draft capital, I understand that as well. Like, if you're able to do, like, an Olave plus, that would be a really good deal. A Waddle plus, if you want to go that route. A DJ Moore plus. Waddle, Olave, DJ Moore. If you're wanting to go the route where, you know, you sell these running backs, Olave, Waddle, DJ Moore. Let's have a look at some of these names. Okay, so for example, the guy who has Olave, that is team 4. And he has a running back need. He has no first this year. So could you get Olave? He doesn't have any. He has his first in 26. So could you try for Olave in his first? But you will give him. You would also give him, let's say, the 204. And let's say Keon Coleman. Or maybe you could just do it for Coleman. Is that possible? You know, you can add the 204 on top of that if you need to. Let's just say the 303 for now. Let's look at this again, but with Jalen Waddle. The bug in my face, sorry. So let's think Jalen Waddle here. Who has Jalen Waddle? Jalen Waddle is on team A9. Z Lingo. So for this one, I'd be thinking like Waddle 201. And then you can offer him the 304. Or you can do a similar thing where if you wanted to try and send... you want to try and get a future first, you add Walker and Keon Coleman to the deal, right? Similar type of offer. And these are probably initial offers. You'll get counters. You won't exactly get it. You know, you'll have to meet someone in the middle if a deal wants to get done. And then DJ Moore, who, again, if you don't want to build around long term and you want to keep rebuilding, you can sell him in season with Ben Johnson. That guy doesn't really... That guy needs wide receivers, so I don't think DJ is going to be possible. If I sell Walker, should I pair Charbonnet with him and try and get something bigger? You could. I mean... Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. I would even use, like for example, if this deal isn't getting across the line, then take the 303 away, add Zach Charbonnet. Does that get it over the line? Do you know what I mean? Like, I would almost use him as like, don't include him initially because I don't think he's a real big difference maker. But if you need to add him to make a deal cross the line, I'm totally fine with that. But the other way that's simple is, you know, if you want to think about the future, if you can get, let's say, 27 first plus a future second, that's kind of ideally in that range. Xavier Worthy is interesting. I would say any mid first in any year, I'd be willing to sell him. And then when Sam Darnold comes back, if you can really use Sam Darnold and a pick, let's say, for example, we talked about selling the 109, and we can look at the 109 in a second. But if you did Sam Darnold, like, that's just the context so you know what I'm talking about, okay? When you get your playbook. But you package the 109 with Sam Darnold. Let's go find a quarterback needy team. And obviously when he signs, you'll be able to get the most for him. But let's sort this by quarterbacks. So for example, Gitsy. So Darnold and the 109. This team isn't a great fit, to be honest. Let's keep looking. Darnold and the 109. Can that net you Wilson? I almost want to do like Wilson Rice. That kind of feels in range depending on how that guy views Rashee Rice. But imagine that. Imagine you turn Darnold and the 109 into Wilson and Rice. Where's your team? I can't remember. Yeah. So you add Wilson and Rice to this wide receiver room. That could be really clutch. And you still have so many quarterbacks that you have on your team. That might be the most ideal one. How about like a Higgins? You could go like Higgins, Ayuk. Right? I mean, Higgins, Ayuk, that's probably about the range. I mean, you might be able to ask for his 201, and then you can send him your 204, right? Add that little pick swap on top. That's a possibility. The difficult part is we're already at the 6th worst quarterback room, and it's already pretty good. That's the difficult part in a 1 quarterback or in a 10-team league is these quarterback rooms are going to be pretty good for the most part. How about Connor? Connor could definitely use some help. Yeah, I don't know that this is going to be really possible because there's not the pieces we really want to go out there and attack. But if you wanted to, make it simple, let's say Darnold in the 109. We get the 103, was it? And a future first. And then we will give you, on top of that, our 204. That's probably still a little bit one-sided towards you. It's a starting offer, though. And then at the 109, I think if I were to sell it, because you don't really need tight end, I'd probably be looking at that range of wide receivers. Let me go back and remind myself. So your DJ Moores, your Addisons. If you don't want to go DJ Moore because he's too old, I get that. Addison's a younger name. I don't think you're going to be able to acquire. Yeah. I mean, you could try and get like a Higgins. Like if you went 109 and your 204, that might get you in range. We also talked about Chris Olave. You could probably get Chris Olave and something based off of how low people are on him right now. The 109 for Olave and 207 maybe, like that kind of range you could look at. But yeah, there's a ton of options. This team has a ton of flexibility. I think what I would probably do is stick and pick for most of these, and then the 109 I'd be looking to trade it away. I think that's really that range where you're kind of in no man's land with tight ends maybe being on the board. If you think that's a 107 and you can get more value, then all the more props to you. You know your league a little bit better. But I definitely love the idea of like the Olave first offer we talked about. The same one with like the Waddle first. I'm kind of obsessed with the idea of Wilson and Rice. Definitely don't mind adding a T. Higgins to this roster. And I like sending Worthy for a mid first if you can. But please, the mate, tell me if there's anything that I didn't cover. This is your time to shine, my friend. This is your, you have the floor, if you will. But overall, I'm a fan of the team that you have. Like, if it were me, where are we at? Let's sort this again. If it were me, like, I probably would be really open to have the mindset of being a sleeper this year where I might have a sneaky chance to compete in the playoffs. I wouldn't force a Walker trade. If I got a first for Tracy, I would definitely take it. I don't think James Cook is a name that I would sell unless I got like a really good mid-first value. I mean, I don't even mind the idea of like turning Cook and Walker into wide receivers. That's the last thing maybe we'll talk about. Like if you turn James Cook and Ken Walker into wide receivers, what is that range? Yeah, I'm not obsessed with this range. That's the problem. Like, I guarantee you Ken Walker is going to be more valuable than Xavier Worthy in season when they're scoring fantasy points. So maybe James Cook is the better name to use, but I don't really want to sell James Cook. But again, you have so much draft capital in a good running back class. Like, yeah, if you could turn James Cook into Rashee Rice, that's actually really interesting to me. For example, James Cook, Rashee Rice. Right now, in a lot of leagues, you can get a plus for Rashee. Right? I mean, people just... I get it. They don't like him, but I think he's a great player. Like, could you get Rice and the 208 or something? And then you send your 303? 304, is that what you have? Yeah. Like, that kind of range. Like, that's another idea that I really don't dislike, actually. Like that whole idea there, I think is really, really intriguing to me. We talked about Rice. Higgins isn't far off from that evaluation. So maybe James Cook is the easier one to do that with. But anyway, that's the other idea. Got a ton of flexibility with this roster, man. Ton of flexibility. Again, let me know if you have any last minute questions. Your team playbook will be customized about everything we talked about today to your league, and it will be sent to you within 72 hours. And if anybody out there is watching and they want their team reviewed, it's very simple, guys. You can become a yearly Mother Flocker member with the promo code LAND. By far the best bang for your buck. But yeah, that was very fun. And our queue, by the way, is completely empty now. So if you're out there and you want your team reviewed, there's never been a better time. This is the best time to get your team reviewed. You will be first on the queue. And we'll be live streaming most days this week. So great time to get your team reviews in there. Let us know if you have any questions, of course, on Discord. But that is it for today, my friends. I will see you guys very soon. I did release a video today, so go check that out. Players that you can hold or cut. And that's it. All love. I'll see y'all soon.